You are watching. The apocalypse is here, Innit. One morning in the city, as the sun shines on the window, and Rage Z game is still on in the computer, Jun Minjun is still sleeping on his futon. Suddenly his phone alarms, and it was already 7:05, February the 5th, Wednesday. He jolts awake and groans, "Ugh, I proper crashed out playing games again." He sits up, grabs his phone and mutters, "I want a jack school in," as he shuffles out his room. On the fridge, there's a note from his mum. "Mum's off to graft, so eat up and get yourself to school." Jung Minjun stares at it for a tick, then heads outside. He clocks the Palace 104 up ahead and thinks, the kids living over there probably can't even picture a life like mine. He trudges to school on his Todd. A bit later, at school, Jung Minjun hits the deck in agony. "Ah, bollocks. Ah." Park Sungbin says, "Ah, sorry Minjun, you all right? I was trying to go easy on you." His mate chips in, "Oi, if you'd landed wrong there, your head would have cracked open, man. But that last move from Minjun, bloody sick." Park Songbin laughs, "But wait, did you just say bollocks? Did I hear that right?" "Ah, this guy Minjun." Park Songbin, 18. Sungun High, Year 2, Class 3, carries on. "Is it 'cause I've been letting things slide lately? You're getting well mouthy, ain't you, you little git?" Hanyana huffs. "Ugh, so bloody noisy in the corridor." Park Songbin stops, and Hanyana says, "What are you, a toddler?" "Park Songbin, I told you to stop picking on the losers." "Ah, bollocks," Park Songbin says. "I wondered who it was, and it's Hanyana." Hanyana says, "Whether it's the losers or that twat Park Songbin bullying kids. You're proper minging, so stop kicking off in front of me and ruining the school vibe." Park Songbin grabs Jung Minjun and says, "Oi, bollocks, bullying? What bullying?" "Minjun's our class mascot, just having a laugh with him." LOL. Hanyana snaps, "If you want to play, don't mess about in the corridor, go outside or something." Park Songbin smirks, "The one Minjun hates most is you." Hanyana, lol. Jung Minjun adjusts his glasses and sweats. Hanyana says, "Oi, unlike you, I don't lamp him, all right? I just blank him completely." Park Songbin says, "Same difference, bollocks, lol." Jung Minjun thinks to himself, "Hanyana, just like Park Songbin, she's a bird in our class I've known since middle school." Park Songbin says, "Anyway, I'm meeting an older geezer I know today to hang out. Wanna come?" Hanyana says, "Are you mental? After what happened last time I listened to you, I'm never going anywhere you are again." And of all places, it had to be Jung Minjun's basement. Creepy as out. Jung Minjun thinks, she lives in that posh flat complex I can see from my house. Her old man's a hospital director, and her mum's a professional, minted, total silver spoon type. Well active on socials like TikTok and Instagram, she's the ultimate social butterfly, the popular one among the popular. On top of that, she's also well good at studying and ranks top tier academically. Heard she's prepping to study abroad in the States next year. She seems like the perfect bird with nothing missing at all. As Hanyana notices Jung Minjun gawping at her while they enter the classroom, he thinks, but if there's one flaw, it's that she looks down on poor sods like me, and anyone she reckons is a loser. Hanyana says, "Ugh, what you staring at?" Her mate giggles. "Pfft, lol." Jung Minjun thinks, when did it start, I wonder? It was back in year 8 when we first ended up in the same class. I'd plucked up the courage to talk to her. Jung Minjun says, "Excuse me, are you heading the same way home?" Hanyana looks back and says, "Oi, you stink, so could you stop following me? If you're going the same way, just go separately or take another route." Jung Minjun thinks, that was when I first realized. Hanyana says, "Also, I seriously don't even want to talk to someone like you." Jung Minjun thinks, that Hanyana despised me, and that I gave off a poor person's pong. Come to think of it, Hanyana always had a nice... Is that what rich people smell like? Normally, when someone proper hates you, your feelings for them fade too. Hanyana says, "Ugh, This is so annoying. Even in sixth form I have to sit next to you. Anyone want to swap seats with me? Jung Minjun thinks. Even though we kept ending up in the same school and same class, and Hanyana always took the mick and looked down on me. Strangely, even I couldn't quite figure out how I felt about her. Do I really still fancy that bird? Is this the true feeling of a loser? Fancying someone who always mocks and looks down on me. It's well ironic, innit? But now, I'm battered by Park Songbin and emotionally wrecked by Hanyana, since then until now. Because of this same miserable situation every single day, I've come to feel proper ashamed of my life, completely humiliated. A bit later, outside. Oh, Byung-jun says, Sunho, don't you know this quarter's anime lineup is meant? You probably know one of the originals too. Bae Sunho says, Nah, I'm not that into anime anymore this year. By the way, I think today's the Rage Z offline event. Oh, Byung-jun says, if it weren't for school, I could have gone to the event this morning. Bae Sunho says, but seriously, who holds a game offline event on a weekday morning? Oh, Byung-jun says, I'm not asked about game events. I'd rather go to a Lumina concert. Bae Sunho says, oh then, fancy trying to get tickets with me? Reckon there's a concert this month. Bae Sunho, 18, Songun High, Year 2, Class 6, and Oh Byung-jun, 18, Songun High, Year 2, Class 5. Jung Minjun thinks, Sunho and Byung-jun, who are in different classes from me, they're the only mates I've got who are similar to me, but they just happen to land in good classes, so no one bullies them. Oh Byung-jun says, Minjun, wanna come with us too, to the Lumina concert? Jung Minjun thinks they're well lucky gits, born with... Oh, Byung-jun says, Jung Minjun. Jung Minjun thinks, guess I'm the only one cursed with a miserable life. Bae Sunho says, Oi, Minjun. Jung Minjun snaps back, shocked, huh? Bae Sunho shows his phone and says, you coming to the Lumina concert or not? We're gonna try for tickets. I've gotta go fangirl over Jan Nim. Jung Minjun sweats and says, haha, nah, I'm good. Jung Minjun stands up and says, from now on, I don't give a toss about idols anymore. Oh Byung-jun, shocked, says, what? No way. You dare to quit being a fan of Lumina Jian, one of the top 5 idol gods, Jang Kasiol Yujing? That's some next-level bonkers, Jung Minjun says anyway. I'm heading in first. Bae Sunho says that Giza was just fangirling over Lumina not long ago. He looks even more dead behind the eyes than usual today. Oh Byung-gun says, why though? Bae Sunho says, isn't it because of that dating rumor a while? Oh Byung-jun says, he's acting like the world's ended just because of that. Do such loser freaks even exist? Bae Sunho says, you'd be the same if Jang Yang got a dating scandal. Oh Byung-jun says, fair point. They watch Jung Minjun walk off. A bit later, at class 2-3, Jung Minjun sits there in silence and thinks, I wish school would end already. Park Songbin says, that bollocksy git gave me the stink eye again earlier, ha ha ha. His mate says, Kang Hakchol. Park Songbin says, but honestly, he's shorter than me. Reckon I could leather him. His mate says, Songbin, since you go to an MMA gym, of course he doesn't stand a chance. LOL. Park Songbin says bollocks that commie bastard who abandoned his parents in North Korea. No manners at all, seriously. But how did he even escape North Korea? His mate says. Only heard he came here when he was 13, nothing detailed. But I guess he dodged death and barely made it out, LOL. Their other mate says, Oi, as he looks at... Kang Hakshol walks in and says, what did you just say? Kang Hakshol, 18, Sungun High, Year 2, Class 8. Park Songbin looks at him confused and says, what, you bollocksy bastard? You got a problem? Kang Hakshol says, watch your mouth. As Park Songbin grabs his collar, Park Songbin says, you son of a biscuit. As he silently holds Kang Hakshol's collar, Kang Hakshol stares at him in silence. Park Songbin's mate says, "Oi, oi, let's knock it on the head." His other mate says, "Songbin, you started this. Shouldn't you apologize to Hakshol?" Park Songbin says, "You came all the way to South Korea. If you don't want to snuff it here, just go to school quietly." A bit later, Park Songbin and his mates walk off. Jung Minjun looks behind and sweats. And he thinks, this crap class in this crap school. A bit later, young Minjun walks home and thinks, yeah, starting tomorrow I'm jacking this crap school. That's the shortcut to happiness in my hellish life. Starting tomorrow, I'm never coming to school again. Suddenly, Park Songbin shouts, "Oi!" Young Minjun is shocked and stops. He looks at Park Songbin, confused. Park Songbin says, "Oh, perfect timing, haha. I'm trying to get some fags, can you help me out?" "Oh lol. Just go ask that old dear over there to buy them from the corner shop." Young Minjun thinks, "A tosser like you. I'm quitting school anyway. I won't ever see you again. I should at least curse that tosser out once." But that's Minjun, who only imagines it and never acts. As young Minjun walks off, Park Songbin, confused, says, "Huh? Oi! Jung Minjun, aren't you coming here, you blanking me?" His mate says, "Blimey. What the heck?" Minjun's mental, LOL. Now he's totally blanking Songbin. "Lao," his blind mate says. "Brew, what the heck?" Park Songbin, with his ego bruised, says, "This bastard." A bit later, at a building, young Minjun groans in pain. "Ugh, gah." Park Songbin says, "Ah, this crazy mother. Why is he acting up so much today? This broke-ass trash bastard. Should we just waste him today? You've got too comfortable since middle school, haven't you, you bloody punk?" His mate says, "Yo, I swear I don't know." His other mate says, "I've been trying to stop Songbin, but I give up. Even if Minjun snuffs it today." Young Minjun says, "Kill me." Park Songbin is shocked and confused. Young Minjun says, "Just kill me already, please. 'Cause I don't want to live anymore." Young Minjun says, "Oi, now I kind of feel sorry for you, Songbin." Haha, well, Park Songbin gets angry and says, "You freaking bastard," and he kicks young Minjun. Park Songbin says, "Oi, listen up. If you even think about writing my name in your suicide note and topping yourself, you better be ready. 'Cause after you croak, I'll go find your mum, who'll be left on her own, and waste her too." His mate says, "Whoa, Songbin, that was way out of order." His other mate says, "Blimey." Park Songbin says, "Shut your gobs, all of you. Let's go." Young Minjun lies on the ground. A bit later, young Minjun walks alone and thinks, "I wish the world would just end tomorrow." As he silently walks home, he thinks, well, wouldn't it be better to snuff it? As he looks at the sky, he thinks, if I fall from that high place, everything will be over. I don't need anything anymore. There's no reason for me to live this miserable life any longer. Suddenly, Hanyena says, "Oi!" Young Minjun looks behind, confused, at Hanyena. Hanyena says, "What are you doing here? This isn't even your gaff, right? What are you doing at our flat complex?" "Don't tell me. You snuck in here." As young Minjun freezes in shock, looking at Hanyena, Hanyena says, "Doesn't look like you came to deliver anything. Are you here to nick something, or what?" Whoa, Jung Minjun thinks. Yeah, you're right. I shouldn't be in a place where people like... I just came here to end everything, to snuff it at your flat. Hanyena, confused, says, "But, oi, what happened to your mush? Did someone lamp you?" As young Minjun stays silent, Hanyena says, "Oi, seriously, you're so bloody frustrating. If geezers like Park Songbin bully you, then why don't you just fight back? After getting battered once, shouldn't you at least try to stand up for yourself next time, even if you get hit again? Seeing someone like you just makes me feel so bloody pathetic. Seriously, you're not good at anything, so shouldn't you at least have the guts to fight back? Isn't your life just miserable if you live like that?" Young Minjun silently walks off. Hanyena says, "What the... Are you off again? Still blanking me till the end, oi, what the heck are you mental? When someone talks to you... Ugh, but seriously, he is pretty bloody pitiful, so weak and spineless. I'm definitely saying something to that bastard Park Song-bin. She watches Jung Minjun walk off. A bit later, Jung Minjun walks into his room and thinks, let's just play a game. And he opens his computer. Jung Minjun puts on his headphones and thinks, but this is ridiculous. I gave up on dying just because of Hanyena. Well, what she said was right. Whatever. I've jacked school in now anyway. From now on, I probably won't have to see Park Songbin or Hanyena again. But maybe, starting tomorrow, I should help Mum with some work. Oh, Byung-jun says, oh, Minjun, you're here. Bai Sunho says, hurry up and get in, we're waiting. Jung Minjun says, hang on, I've just fired up the game. A few hours later, Jung Minjun's still gaming at night, as people outside shout, Kya! What the heck? Jung Minjun's still playing with Oh Byung-jun and Bai Sunho, while outside there's noise of people running and shouting. Jung Minjun, still playing, says, not there, over here, 3 zombies. All right, Bai Sunho says, oi, something's come up. I think I have to shoot off real quick. Jung Minjun, confused, says, huh? All of a sudden, oi, just finish this round before you go. We can wrap it up in 10 minutes. Oh Byung-jun says, Minjun, I think I have to go too. Jung Minjun, shocked and confused, says, what? Even Byung-jun too? Jung Minjun looks at the clock and says, what time is it now? 10 o'clock, it's already that late. Oh Byung-jun says, what the heck? Did you see the news just now? It's total carnage. Jung Minjun says, huh? What news? Suddenly, Jung Minjun hears a loud noise. Jung Minjun, confused, takes off his headphones and says what's going on. Jung Minjun walks out of his room and thinks, what the? Jung Minjun says, who are you? As the doorknob moves, Jung Minjun thinks, no way. Who is this person, seriously? Bloody creepy. Jung Minjun peeks through the peephole. His neighbor says, help me. Jung Minjun says, my upstairs neighbor. The man creepily says, open. The door. Jung Minjun says, huh? Ah, did the delivery get sent to the wrong floor again? As the man bumps his head on the door, Jung Minjun thinks, this geezer's off his face again, huh? Jung Minjun grabs the doorknob and gently opens the door. He looks outside and is shocked and confused, saying, huh? As the man is injured and walks toward him, Jung Minjun is shocked after looking at the man's stomach. Jung Minjun sweats and says, Ajushi, are you all right? Should I call 119? The man suddenly groans and shouts, Gwa! As he jumps at Jung Minjun, Jung Minjun in fear says, Q! The man shouts, Gwa! Jung Minjun screams like a little girl, saying, ah! Ajushi, why are you acting like this all of a sudden? Ajushi, for crying out loud. As Jung Minjun kicks him away, the man is thrown out. Jung Minjun immediately slams the door shut. As the man outside groans, saying, Gwa! Jung Minjun pants, saying, huff, 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 huff. Jung Minjun's knees tremble, and he says, whoa, what the hell was that? Ajushi's face was completely. Jung Minjun takes his phone and says, Police! I need to call the Rosas. But there's no dial tone. Jung Minjun, confused, says, what? The phone's not working at all, huh? As multiple messages appear on his screen, emergency alert, at 9:10 a.m., a warning alert was issued for the Seoul area. Terror attacks are occurring in unspecified locations. Please prepare to evacuate and allow children and the elderly to evacuate first. Emergency alert. At 9:35 a.m., an emergency shelter-in-place order was issued. If you see any attackers nearby, avoid going outside and stay indoors, waiting for rescue. Emergency alert. Unknown attacks are occurring in Seoul, an unspecified area. If you see any attackers, stay indoors and await rescue. Numerous murders are being reported. Jung Minjun says, emergency alert. Jung Minjun hears noise outside. He opens his window. A lady screams, "Kya!" As Jung Minjun sees the chaos outside, a man is being eaten by zombies, screaming, "Ah! Please help me! Gwa!" Jung Minjun thinks, "Whoo, what on earth is going on?" That Ayushi from the floor above. Jung Minjun closes his window and thinks, my mum, is she all right? As he dials her number, he thinks, "Shh, she usually comes home around this time, please." He is shocked and thinks, even my mum's phone is completely out of reach. A bit later, Jung Minjun turns off his lights and hides under his duvet, facing the door, as he trembles in fear. Jung Minjun looks at his phone as he trembles. Jung Minjun says, "The internet and everything else has been out since." As the site says cannot connect to the site, Jung Minjun switches on the telly and thinks, I better keep the volume down in case it can be heard outside. The news says, a series of brutal murders is being committed by a number of unidentified civilians across the country. The government is treating this as an act of indiscriminate terrorism and is currently investigating the cause and those responsible. However, no specific information has been released yet. News flash. Breaking news. Random killings reported in the metropolitan area. The news says, yes, I will repeat myself. The current situation is extremely serious. Jung Minjun thinks, terrorism. Something bad is kicking off. The news says, if possible, remain indoors, lock your windows and doors, and avoid contact with the outside world. Breaking update. There are now reports of killings occurring in Busan as well. As a man bites a... The reporter says, similar violent incidents are being reported not only in major cities like Seoul, Busan, and Incheon, but also in smaller towns. Police and military forces have been deployed, but the situation appears difficult to control. Jung Minjun thinks, this is mental. This isn't just terrorism or causing fear en masse. Don't tell me it's what I think it is. Zombies. Could it be that? Am I dreaming? Could everything fall apart this fast? From Seoul to Busan in just a day? Just why? What's the cause? I shouldn't be standing around like this. Come to think of it, the geezer upstairs went outside earlier. If there's no one in the building's stairwell. First, I should shut the building's front door. As he looks through the peephole, he says, no one's here, and he opens the door. He looks around and thinks, no way there's someone up the stairs, right? And he opens the main door and walks outside, thinking, quietly. As he sees a zombie, he gets scared and goes back inside, closing the main door. He says, now that I think about it, are the people upstairs all right? It's strangely quiet. I'll just stay inside and wait until morning. The Rosas or someone will come to rescue us eventually. A bit later, in his room, the news reporter says, yes, we will continue with the breaking news. Random killings reported in the metropolitan area. Currently the situation. Suddenly the telly shuts down. Jung Minjun, shocked, thinks, now even the broadcast is cut off. A bit later, as zombies are heard outside, Jung Minjun tries to sleep, and he thinks I can't sleep. More importantly, it feels strange. Just yesterday I wanted to end my own life, because of how hellish my life was. I even thought it'd be better if the world just ended, and now it really has. But here I am, desperately trying to survive. Maybe it's not that different from before, whether then or now it's still hell. The next day, as zombies walk the street, Jung Minjun opens the door gently and peeks outside. As he sees multiple zombies walking, Jung Minjun thinks, the air feels unfamiliar, a scent of blood. Just from the atmosphere you can tell. And he closes the door. He locks it and thinks, going outside right now would be suicide. As he looks at the door of their flat, a bit later, Jung Minjun looks at his rations and thinks, let's see. 4 packs of ramen, 6 pot noodles, including instant rice and uncooked rice. Enough for 2 weeks for one person. And a few side dishes. 3 bottles of bottled water. The tap still works, so I should collect as much as possible. Luckily, the gas still seems to be working too. Just judging by the emergency food supply, I reckon I can survive in the house for about a month. Someone's bound to come and help within a month, right? Still, I really hope my mum is all right. I can't call 119 or contact anyone since the phone network is completely down. Now that I think of it, excluding the vacant units, there are 5 households in this building. The ajushi from upstairs turned into one of them, and on the floor above that, there's an elderly couple and an ajume. I wonder if they're still there. Ah, the uni geezer in the rooftop room. Is he really still there? He usually brings his girlfriend over every Tuesday. Yesterday was Tuesday, so maybe he's still in the rooftop room. A bit later, Jung Minjun walks to the rooftop. Jung Minjun thinks, still no sign of anyone alive from the other floors. That means last hope. The rooftop geezer. Please tell me he didn't turn out like a juicy. As Jung Minjun sees the light, he says, the rooftop door was open. As he silently walks to the rooftop, Jung Minjun thinks, should I call out? No, better not, just in case. What is this? The inside door's open too. As he slowly enters the room, it's dark in. Jung Minjun thinks, no one's here. Suddenly he sees something and says, huh? And he sees blood on the floor and thinks, day 2 of the disaster. That day became a major turning point in my life. Jung Minjun thinks, blood, stains, and inside. I can feel a presence. As he trembles, he thinks, freak me, let's go out slowly. Suddenly he hits the plant pot, and it falls to the ground, shattering and making a loud noise. Jung Minjun thinks, freak, as he looks behind the uni student, says, kick. Jung Minjun legs it, saying, ah. As he trips on his own leg and hits the deck, he yelps in pain, ah. Jung Minjun sweats, and looks at the uni student rushing toward him. As Jung Minjun stands up, he ducks, and the uni student hits the end of the roof. Jung Minjun shoves him to the edge, and he falls from the rooftop. As Jung Minjun looks back, he freezes in shock. Jung Minjun drops to the ground and says in fear, he fell. Jung Minjun suddenly rushes inside and locks the door. He says in fear, ha, ha, and goes back to their flat. Jung Minjun drops to the ground and pants, saying, ha, ha, as he trembles in fear. Jung Minjun thinks, the rooftop Hyung must be dead, right? Did I just kill someone? And no, it's not my fault that Hyung attacked me first. A few hours later at night, the sun starts to set outside. As Jung Minjun, still in shock, sits on the floor, Jung Minjun thinks, that day, I was tormented by guilt all day long. Did I really make the rooftop Hyung fall to his death? Jung Minjun stands up. A bit later, Jung Minjun goes outside and sees the uni student, and he looks closely. Suddenly, the uni student turns around. Jung Minjun suddenly froze in shock. He sweats in fear. He thinks, the rooftop Hyung is alive. As Hyung says, grr, Jung Minjun thinks, I realized. They're no longer human. I'm sorry, but zombies. And he went back inside the building, as Hyung said, Erg. Jung Minjun thinks, since that day. Strangely enough, my fear of the infected began to fade away. The next day, day 3 since the apocalypse kicked off, Jung Minjun ate his meal. Jung Minjun thinks, until the gas is cut off, I can eat this. I wonder when it will be cut off. Is it really right to just keep waiting in this basement until help arrives? After all, the grub will run out. Since no one other than the rooftop Hyung has come out, it seems there are no more infected should I go back up. To request help, I'll need to light a fire on the roof. As he thinks silently, Jung Minjun looks at the window and thinks, I guess I'll have to go out tomorrow. Maybe it's because I already prepared to give up on life a few days ago. Or it's because of what I experienced yesterday and the day before. I'm not. But those zombie-like people don't particularly scare me anymore. Suddenly, his phone rings. Jung Minjin thinks, Mum. He answers and says, Hello? Mum. His mum says, Minjin, where are you? Are you all right? Jung Minjin says, I'm hiding alone in our house right now. Where are you? His mum says, I met the military while evacuating the day before yesterday, and I'm currently at the shelter in Songnam. Don't worry about me. If you're at home, don't go outside. I'll make sure to ask the rescue team to come to our house. Right now, in Seoul. Towards our neighborhood. Suddenly, the line cuts, and Jung Minjin, confused and shocked, says, Mum. Mum! Freak, it's cut off again. Still, I'm glad to hear that Mum is safe. What the? I'm getting messages all of a sudden now. Sunho and Byunjin. These geezers are safe too. As he reads the messages, Byunjin, freaking hell, check the news, it's a mess. Air raid alert! Air raid alert! All Rosa forces were mobile. Sunho. Seriously, this crazy son of a bee, this isn't the time for jokes. We're all Gojo Satoru. Byunjin. What meme is this? But is this really sending? It's a bit slow. Did my data get cut off? 1:18 a.m., 1:19 a.m., 1:20 a.m. Sunho. No, it seems to be working for me. Byungjun. Jung Minjin. The only one not checking messages. Sunho, are you at home? Call me. Jung Minjin says, but seriously, to think he would be joking around at a time like this. Sunho and Byungjun live well close, so they might be able to help each other. But only Mum, Sunho and Byungjun contacted me in this situation. Jung Minjin suddenly thinks and says to himself, Han Yena. Of all the people I know, she's the one living closest. Now that I think about it, she did come here last year, and he remembered that time. His mate said, I'm serious. Han Yena saw you on Insta and asked me to introduce you. His other mate said, Really? She doesn't know I've got a girlfriend, right? A blind mate said, Yeah, lol. His other mate said, Oi, but do you reckon Han Yena would really come here? She's usually so uptight. It's all right, haha. I just told her to come over without hesitating. Ha ha ha. She probably doesn't even know it's Jung Minjin's house. His malnourished mate said, If she actually comes here, does that mean Han Yena wants a boyfriend? Ha ha. Their other mate said, I'm looking forward to it, ha ha ha. Those Insta photos looked well nice, ha ha ha. Park Songbin said, Oi Changmin, if she comes I reckon it's a great opportunity. Up for it? Changmin said, Ha ha, you demon. Are you selling her out despite going to the same middle school? Still, would Han Yena really come over? Park Songbin said, But if I get caught trying to flirt with her, I'm in proper trouble. Changmin said, Who cares? Park Songbin said, Oi, Yena just Jung Minjin sweats and is shocked. A bit later, Park Songbin says, Oi, Han Yena really came. Ha ha ha. Changmin said, Oh really? Ha ha ha, is she really coming? Ha ha, I'll go outside and let her in. As Jung Minjin is shocked and thinks, Did she really come? A bit later, Han Yena arrived. As Jung Minjin stares at her, Park Songbin says, Come on in. Jung Minjin's house is thing nice, right? Ha ha ha, Park Songbin says. By the way, this is Changmin, whom I mentioned, ha ha. You know each other from Insta, right? Say hello, ha ha. Jung Minjin says, Oi, I'll just leave, Han Yena said. What? After coming all this way, where are you going? Jung Minjun thinks, What made me feel miserable? Wasn't having Park Songbin and his crew invading my house. Han Yena said, The smell of fags is minging. The floor sticky. The house is stuffy. And why didn't you mention that it's Jung Minjun's house? Ugh, so annoying. Jung Minjun thinks. But Han Yena's reaction. A bit later, in the bathroom, Jung Minjun took a dump and thought, Is she safe? If those symptoms are caused by a zombie virus, since my dad's the hospital director, he might know some solutions. But why am I worrying about her in this situation? She must have made it out fine, since she lives well. Suddenly, Jung Minjin heard Han Yena outside saying, Jung Minjin. Jung Minjin was shocked, and he looked at the door. Jung Minjin thought, Jay, just now, I feel like someone called me from outside. Did I hear it wrong? Han Yena said, Jay, Jung Min-jun, are you there? If you are, open the door for me. Quickly. Jung Min-jun, still shocked, said, Hanyena. As he was still taking a dump, Hanyena said outside, Jung Min-jun. The zombies near her said, Ga. Ha. Hanyena said, it's really you inside, right? I thought I heard a voice just now. The zombies noticed her and said, Gre. Suddenly a zombie ran towards her and said, Gog. Hyung said, Gog. As his new mate also said, Gwe. As they rushed towards Hanyena panicked and punched Jung Min-jun's wall, saying, Jung Min-jun. Quick, open the door, please, if you're there, respond. A Jung Min-jun got out of the door quickly after he'd taken a massive dump, and he shouted at Hanyena, saying, Get in, quick! Hanyena ran inside as Jung Min-jun locked the door. Hyung and his new mates said, Gre, ka! As they walked towards the door, a bit later inside. Hanyena sweats as she pants, saying, Ha ha, seductively, as Jung Min-jun looks at her sitting on the floor, panting seductively. Jung Min-jun looks at Hanyena's perfect feet, and he says, Oi, are you all right? Why are you here? Suddenly Hanyena grabs Jung Min-jun's shirt, and she pulled him down and cried close to him. Jung Min-jun sweats as he says, What in the world happened? As they sat there for a moment, Jung Min-jun says, Are you all right? As Hanyena releases him from her grip and says, Ah, thanks, Jung Min-jun. Honestly, if it weren't for you, I might have snuffed it. Jung Min-jun blushes while looking at her drenched in sweat. Jung Min-jun looks away and says, that's a relief. Anyway, you're safe now, so. Hanyena looks at the window. She stands up and says, Is it just you here right now? Jung Min-jun says, My mum went out for work 3 days ago and hasn't been back since. I got through to her by chance, and she seems to be all right. She said she met up with a military unit and evacuated to a safe place. Hanyena says, I see. Glad to hear. Jung Min-jun says, Hanyena, what about your parents? Hanyena says, I did get to talk to my dad one last time, and he sounded like he was safe at his workplace. As for my mum, both my mum and dad are doing Anyway, if you have any water, could I get some? I haven't had a sip in days. Jung Min-jun says, Ooh. Hanyena says, and if there's still power, can I charge my phone too? A few minutes later, Hanyena downed 3 bottles of Jung Min-jun's water and continues to drink while Jung Min-jun looks at her sexy legs and feet. Jung Min-jun thinks in shock, seriously, how much water is she drinking? We're supposed to be rationing it. If the water gets cut off completely, freak. Then again, she probably risked her life, just to get here. As Hanyena finishes the water, Jung Min-jun says, did you come here from your gaff? But why did you come to my place? Hanyena says, I've been hiding outside this whole time. Jung Min-jun, shocked, thinks, Hanyena looks far and says, 3 days ago, the day I ran into you near the flat, something happened that day, so I went home to change and stepped out. Suddenly a zombie said, Kya. Hanyena says, then it all started kicking off out of nowhere. A bloke running said, Wah! Run! A woman running said, Kya! Hanyena says, I just kept running without thinking, as she was exhausted and panting seductively, saying, Ha! Ha! Hanyena says, and I ended up hiding in the stairwell of a nearby shopping complex. I waited, thinking someone might come rescue me, but no one did. Jung Min-jun says, then don't tell me. You stayed there the whole time, on your own. Hanyena says, there was one unlocked door by the stairwell. It led to a small meeting room, or something like that. The inner door into the building wouldn't open, so I had no choice but to hide in there. Luckily, there was a water jug inside. I survived off that, but by the third day, I hit my limit from thirst and hunger. Since it was less than 1 kilometer to my house anyway, I decided to make a run for it, hoping I'd meet a Rosa or a rescue worker along the way. As she looks at the streets, she was shocked as she saw zombies, and she sweats and thinks, why'd it have to be this road? Guess I'll have to go through this alley. As she tries to walk silently, Hanyena says, that's how I ended up sneaking my way to your villa neighborhood. A bit later, she thinks, this area, it's Jung Minjun's neighborhood. And she saw zombies ahead and thought, to get back to my flat, I had to pass through that side of town. I didn't have a choice. I needed to take this route. Looks like I'm getting close to Jung Minjun's house. I've been there once before, so I reckon I remember roughly where it is. I'm pretty sure I go through that alley over there. That Jung Minjun geezer. Pretty sure he went home 3 days ago. He's probably still there, right? Hanyena continues telling her story, saying, should I call them Anyway, I kept dodging those zombie-like people and circled around until I ended up near your gaff. Jung Minjun said, I'm so glad, but you're amazing too for having the guts to come outside. Hanyena shakes her head and said, phew, it's honestly such a relief that you were home. My hair's all matted, and I feel minging. I'm sweating like mad too. As she stood up and fixed her hair, Hanyena asked, is the water still running here by any chance? Jung Minjun stared at her sexy armpits and froze. He then said, yeah, your armpits are totally soaked. You must have been sweating buckets. Shouldn't you change your clobber? Want to borrow something of mine? Hanyena blushes and is shocked and confused. Hanyena kicks Jung Minjun with her sexy feet and said, are you seriously mental? Freaking hell, you're every bit the loser I thought you were. Oi, you freaking son of a bee-idiot. No wonder you get back. Hanyena covers his head and said, what? Why? Hanyena took off her jacket and said, I don't even have the energy to cuss you out. Anyway, if the bathroom water's running, can I take a shower? Jung Minjun said, gee, go ahead. Hanyena said, thanks, freak, what's with that out of nowhere? As Hanyena took a shower, Jung Minjun waited for a while and he thought, anyway, what do I do now? Originally, before Hanyena showed up, I was planning to go outside, but now that she's here, it'd feel wrong to just leave her and go on my Todd. And even if we keep waiting here, I only had enough grub for one person. For a month. If we both stay and wait for rescue, we'll cut our survival time in half. This is so bloody hopeless. But that Hanyena is taking a shower at my house, that's just as unbelievable as the zombie outbreak. Jung Minjun thinks of their time at school as he walks the halls and saw Hanyena. Jung Minjun thought, back at school, she wouldn't even make eye contact with me. She treated me like I was some kind of insect. Suddenly, Hanyena opens the door. Jung Minjun was shocked. Hanyena said, oi, Jung Minjun, lend me some clobber. I've been wearing the same ones for days. I should at least wash them. Jung Minjun said, whoa. And he jumps to his things and said, oh, of course. W want a t-shirt and pajama bottoms? Or maybe shorts, long trousers? Hanyena said, whatever, just give me something. You're short, so I reckon they'll fit all right. Jung Minjun gave Hanyena his shirt and looks away, blushing. Hanyena smells his shirt and said, ugh, freak, it smells musty. Oi, don't you have anything else? Jung Minjun said, well, I do, but they're probably just as bad. Hanyena said, forget it, I'll just wear this. A bit later, Hanyena wears it and smells it like crazy, and she said, this gross pong is so unbearable. I'll just deal with it until my clobber dries. At least spray some Febreze or something. Jung Minjun sweats and said, I did wash them recently. Hanyena said, is this just what happens when you live in a semi-basement? I'm well sensitive to smells, so try to understand. So gross, but whatever, can't be helped. Haha, Jung Minjun thought. Is she like this because of her personality? Or is she just that thoughtless? Seriously, she's worried about gross pongs right now. A bit later, outside, the zombies chat to each other saying grr, grah, gah, as Hanyena hangs her clobber to dry, and she scoffed some of Jung Minjin's scran. Hanyena said, Oi, Jung Minjin. Jung Minjin said, huh? Hanyena said, what do we do now? There's nothing to do but stay here and wait for rescue, right? Jung Minjin said, honestly, right before you came, I was thinking of moving to a different location tomorrow. Hanyena said, what? Are you mental? We've still got scran in here, so why risk going out? I nearly snuffed it just getting here, you know, and now you're saying you're going to go right back out. I refuse to go. Jung Minjin said, no, I'm not saying I'm going now. I meant I was thinking about it before you showed up. Anyway, now that you're here, I guess we'll have to stick it out and wait for rescue, right? Hanyena said, then what if we run out of scran? What do we do then? Jung Minjin said, the only way to last as long as possible is to break into the upstairs or other houses to look for more supplies. But honestly, besides the rooftop room, I can't be 100% sure. There aren't infected in the other places. And lately the screams from other buildings have been getting less and less. If we run out of scran completely then, I guess we'll have to go outside. Hanyena was shocked and she said, in no way? Out? No, not there, Jung Minjin said. But you couldn't hold out there either, right? If we run out of scran, we'll have to go out eventually. Hanyena said, let's think about that when the time comes. And you haven't even been outside, have you? Just stepping out of this neighborhood will change your mind real fast. Those zombie-like people are well dangerous. They're terrifying. I nearly snuffed it just getting here from 1 kilometer away. Jung Minjin said, 1 kilometer is pretty far though. That's impressive. And if you manage to get here safely, then maybe you could manage to avoid them while moving about too. Hanyena said, what? Oi, aren't you scared of those monsters? Jung Minjin said, you know as well as I do, those people, they're just like zombies. We still need to learn more about them, but from what I saw through the window, if you get attacked and bitten, you end. So it's likely you turn because of infection, right? Honestly, I don't even care if I get infected. Doesn't matter at all. I've got nothing to lose anyway. As Hanyena was silent, she then said, that's your situation. I want to survive. I refuse to end up like them. I'm supposed to study abroad in the States next year. Jung Minjin said, so the key is to just avoid contact with them, right? You made it all the way here too, didn't you? You even said you didn't get spotted. Until right before reaching my gaff. One thing about those infected. They don't all rush in like they're trying to kill you. Depending on where they're hurt, some just walk toward you, and some look like they're collapsed. Like they're dead. Also, their running speed's actually slower than a normal person sprinting. That means you and I can totally avoid them. As Hanyena sat down and listened, Jung Minjin said, you ever played tag as a kid, right? Hanyena, confused, said, you just have to think of it like a game of tag. That way, dodging them might even feel a little exciting. Hanyena, not impressed, said, crazy bastard, calling this tag, what a bloody joke. I'm well scared, all right? Jung Minjin said, sorry. Hanyena shows off her sexy foot near Jung Minjin and said, anyway, I'm gonna kip. Can you lay out some blankets? And she lay down and said, I haven't had a proper night's kip in days. I'm starting to feel well sleepy. Jung Minjin said, A bit later, Jung Minjin fixed his futon and put 2 pillows next to each other. Hanyena suddenly said, Oi, are you mental? You trying to sleep next to me? Jung Minjin, confused, said, huh? Hanyena pointed outside of Jung Minjin's room and said, you kip over there? Jung Minjin, confused, looked out, and he looked back at Hanyena and said, Oi, come on, this is my gaff, you know. Sleeping in front of the bathroom door's a bit much. Hanyena said, what? Ha. Fine, I get it. And she walked outside of Jung Minjin's room and said, I forgot I'm just an uninvited guest. Must have lost my mind for a sec. Fine then, I'll kip over there. You take the comfy spot. Happy now? Jung Minjin said, Huh? Hanyena said, Never mind. I'll just kip out on the bloody stairwell instead. Ha ha. Sleep tight. Jung Minjin said, Oi, what's your problem? Just sleep here comfortably. Hanyena said, No, it's your gaff, so you should sleep comfortably, all right? Don't worry about a random intruder like me. But that doesn't even mean going outside. The stairwell's dangerous if the door's open. This loser is so bloody hilarious. Kikeka, oi. I'm joking, Kika. I'll just kip in the kitchen, Jung Minjin said. I mean, then what does that make me? Fine, I'll kip in the kitchen instead. Huh? No, seriously, I'll kip here. I was totally joking before, but... A bit later, Jung Minjun at the kitchen looked at the ceiling, and he closed his eyes and thought, so this is how I end up losing anyway. I'll just kip here on my Todd. That's easier. Haha. Well, at least I'm still inside the gaff, haha. Still, thanks to Hanyena, I'm not on my ones anymore. She does talk a lot, though. A bit later, the zombies outside started to talk to each other, grunting and saying, Gra, 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 ra, gwa, ga. Hanyena, alone in the room, can't sleep as she continues to hear the zombies outside. She then said, Oi, Jung Minju. Jung Minjin, confused, woke up and he sits up. Hanyena said, Just come in and kip in the roo. As Jung Minjin looks at the door, Hanyena said, It's scary being on my two. A bit later, Jung Minjin came inside his own room as he looks at Hanyena kip. Hanyena said, This sound, I heard it countless times while hiding on the but it's still unfamiliar and terrifying. I miss Mum. As Jung Minjun listened silently, and the noises outside continued. A few hours later, the sun rose. As the zombies walked around, they groaned, saying, Ugh, gruk. As Hanyena kipped peacefully in Jung Minjun's futon, Jung Minjun stood up and said, how long is she going to kip? She said she couldn't sleep because she was scared. Yet she's really kipping well. As he stared at Hanyena a few hours later, Hanyena woke up and sat up, and she moaned seductively, saying, She looked at Jung Minjun and was confused. She then said, Where are you going? Jung Minjun put on his jacket and said, I'm thinking of going back up to the rooftop. Hanyena said, And she stood up and said, Oi, didn't you say you couldn't confirm if there were more infected up there? What if someone else is still there? Jung Minjun said, It'll be fine. If there is, I'll just avoid them. Do you want to come with me? Hanyena said, Are you mental? I can't go, Jung Minjun said. Then I'll go on my Todd. You stay here. Hanyena said. A bit later, Jung Minjun walked up the stairs. As Jung Minjun looked at the main door, he thought in shock. There's a crack in the glass. It won't last much longer. Well, even if it's covered with film, glass is still glass. As Jung Minjun walked forward, Hanyena said, It smells rank. Jung Minjun looked behind and was confused. Hanyena said, I have a really bad feeling about this. Jung Minjun looked at her. A bit later, at the rooftop, Jung Minjun looked at the bathroom of Hyung, and he sweated, thinking, It's the rooftop geezer's girlfriend. She's not moving. Let's at least say a short prayer for her. A bit later, Jung Minjun walked out of the room. Hanyena said, No one's inside. Jung Minjun said, Well, there is. Someone who already passed away. I reckon it's better not to go inside. Hanyena said, Jung Minjun sat down and said, If we want to ask for rescue, maybe we should light a fire here and create smoke or something. But we'd have to light it at the exact time a rescue helicopter passes by, Hanyena said. Then how about we prepare something to burn in advance, and as soon as we hear a helicopter, we light it up. Jung Minjun said. Fire doesn't blaze up instantly, right? By the time it's ready, the helicopter might already be gone. Hanyena said, should we check nearby buildings to see if there are any other survivors? And she shouted, hello! Is there anyone in the buildings nearby? Jung Minjun said, oi! What if the infected swarm here after hearing your voice? Hanyena said, they can't climb up here anyway, right? Jung Minjun said, you never know. The glass door at the building entrance was already cracked, Jung Min thought. And so, Hanyena and I had to continue surviving alone in this place. A bit later, inside Jung Minjun's flat, Hanyena said, oh, Jung Minjun. What's your MBTI? Jung Minjun, confused, said, MTR. Ah, I haven't done it. Hanyena said, what? You haven't done it yet? Wow, you're the first person I've ever met. Who hasn't done an MBTI test? Then you probably don't use Instagram either, huh? Totally seems like it, ha ha ha. Even if you do, I bet you don't even have 50 followers. Ha ha, then what the hell is your joy in life? You got no hobbies or what? Jung Minjun said, aside from gaming. Hanyena said, gaming. What kind of games do you play? Jung Minjun said, I play League of Legends and a few others. Lately I've been playing this zombie game called Rage C a lot. Hanyena said, a zombie game? LOL, that's mental, ha ha ha. I mean, now that the real world has become a zombie apocalypse, there's no need to play zombie games anymore, ha ha ha. Pfft. Oh, but if you take the MBTI test, I bet 100% you'd be an I introvert. Look at you. You're always playing games at home, eating on your Todd. Even at school you're always zoning out on your ones, haha. Someone like you could never be an E extrovert, Keck. So are you a P or a J? Do you like planning, or are you more spontaneous? Jung Minjun said, well, it's kind of hard to say. And he thought, wow, she talks so much. We could literally snuff it tomorrow, yet here we are having this cute little convo. Hanyena said, oi, what do you reckon my MBTI is? Jung Minjun said, I'm not sure. I don't really know much about it. And he thought, she didn't even glance at me before the zombie outbreak. But I guess now I'm the only one she can talk to. Still, I ended up on my ones with the bird I used to fancy. Hanyena suddenly put her sexy foot at Jung Minjun's hands and said, oi, oi. But why did you blah, blah, blah? Jung Minjun thought, is this a good thing? In the past, just the thought of chatting one-on-one with her like this, in the same place, even imagining it would have made me happy. Even though the world's gone to hell and we could snuff it tomorrow, it wouldn't be surprising. Hanyena suddenly teased Jung Minjun while playing with Jung Minjun's chest with her sexy feet and said, oi, oi, Jung Minjun. Jung Minjun. Jung Minjun. Jung Minjun, still talking to himself, said, does any of this even mean anything anymore? Hanyena kicked Jung Minjun and said, ugh, are you blanking me? Why aren't you answering? Jung Minjun snapped out of it and said, huh? Sorry, I was just thinking about something else. Hanyena said, you're zoning out right in front of me, you crazy freaking loser. As the light outside shined through the window, Hanyena read the comic books of Jung Minjun. A few days later, Hanyena continued to read on the floor. Hanyena said, Jung Minjun, did you finish the washing? Also, I'm hungry. As Jung Minjun did the washing, he thought, damn it, I swear I'm going to leave her behind and leg it on my own. What am I, Hanyena's slave? She should do her own bloody washing. As Jung Minjun, a classic MBTI type, who absolutely never expresses his emotions outwardly. Jung Minjun thought, now there's no electricity, so I have to wash clobber by hand. Thankfully, the tap still works, so there's enough water. But our emergency food supply is running dangerously low. A bit later, Jung Minjun said to Hanyena, oi, Hanyena, I'm heading out. Hanyena, confused, said, huh? Don't be late today, all right? Be back within 30 minutes. If you make me wait again, you're dead meat. Seriously, Jung Minjun said, got it. And he thought, damn it. As Jung Min-jun opened the main door, he looked around and closed the main door, thinking, I patrol the neighborhood once a day. Of course, only through safe paths. After observing and studying the infected people over several days, I found that they behave very similarly to zombies. Like people with rabies, they attack living humans, but do not attack those who are dead or already infected. Possibly due to impaired vision, they don't notice you if you're more than 50 to 100 meters away. But this seems to vary from one infected to another. They're well sensitive to sound, so it's crucial to stay quiet. Also, during the day, the number of infected is about 2 to 3 times lower than at night. It seems like they move into shadows or corners during the day, and maybe they dislike sunlight. Because of that, you must never go outside at night. But these traits of the infected, the online game I used to... Maybe it's just my imagination. But aside from the setting, the behavior of the infected feels too similar to the ones in that game. Maybe it's because I was too immersed in that game until recently. It must just be a coincidence. There's no way, but if those infected are somehow related to that game, then this is only the beginning, and surely the end of the world will come. A bit later, at Jung Min-jun's building, Han Yena said, Ugh, I've finished all the comic books. I'm bored out of my mind. And she looked at the clock. She said, Ugh, that bastard Jung Min-jun is late again. He's been listening to me less and less lately. I really need to train this geezer better or something. And she looked at the window. She thought, the sound of a helicopter again today. But what's the use? As she remembered the other day. As a helicopter passed by, Han Yena shouted, Someone, save me! Jung Min-jun shouted, also saying, Over here, we're over here. Han Yena thought, lighting a fire on the rooftop was pointless anyway. As the day passed, Han Yena looked at the clock as she heard the sound of the clock ticking loudly from the silence. Han Yena sweated and, frustrated, said, That damn Jung Min-jun, why isn't he coming back? As she bit her nails, she walked in circles and said, Het, it's already been over an hour and a half since he left. Don't tell me something happened. Did he get attacked by the infected? Ugh, seriously, just come back already. When he gets back, I swear I'll beat the crap out of him. Seriously, does this bastard only listen when he gets battered? Ugh, it's dangerous out there, so why does he keep going out? Starting tomorrow, if he tries to go out again, I'll break his legs if I have to. As the sun set outside, Han Yena sat down and worried, and she started to get frustrated and said, Jung Min-jun, please. You're not dead, right? A bit later, Han Yena looked at the candle and said, The sun's already set now. Didn't they say more infected come out after sunset? Don't tell me. He's not coming back anymore. Please come back soon. Please don't leave me on my Todd. Suddenly she heard the door open and immediately looked at the door. Jung Min-jun came inside and said, Oi, oi! Han Yena, look at this. Jung Min-jun was shocked and confused as he looked at Han Yena, saying, Huh? Han Yena stood up silently while looking at Jung Min-jun. Her eyes welling up with some tears, she said, You're 3 hours late, you crazy bastard. Do you really have a death wish? As Jung Min-jun was shocked and confused, Han Yena suddenly raised her fist and was about to hit Jung Min-jun, saying, Seriously, you need a beating to get your senses straight. Han Yena said, Well, wait a second, look at this. And she took out a paper and said, Earlier, a helicopter dropped a ton of leaves. I went all the way to where they landed to find them. That's why I'm late. Han Yena, confused, said, What? Leaflets? And she looked at the leaflets and was shocked and confused. She said, This. What the heck is this? Han Yena looked at the flyer and said, They are locking down Gangbuk. That is where we are right now. As it stated, the Gangbuk area is scheduled for lockdown. All survivors in Gangbuk must evacuate immediately by 6 o'clock in the evening on the 10th of the month. Evacuation locations: Gangnam, Gwacheon, Jua. Central Disaster and Safety Countermeasures Headquarters. Han Yena exclaimed, And it says tomorrow. No way. How can the whole city of Gangbuk just close like that? Jung Min-jun replied, Look at the back. Safety status by Gangbuk area. Hanyena said, the back? Let me see. Our neighborhood is Yungbuk district. Jongmundong is labeled caution. It looks like our neighborhood has a lower infection rate compared to others. Moreover, it states that Yongkondong is safe. Jung Minjin added, what's important is that areas near us, like Dongdaemun, Yongsan and Songdong, are all at very dangerous levels. Soon it might reach a more serious level here too. Hanyena stood shocked. Jung Minjin continued, staying here waiting for rescue is the worst choice. Hanyena, sweating, said, so we need to escape from Gangbuk immediately. Is that even possible now? I heard Uijeongbu is also dangerous. Where exactly do they plan to lock down? Since they say Gangbuk, does that mean they are closing all of Gangbuk based on the Han River? Jung Minjin thought, so there are quite a few infected in our neighborhood, but the infection rate is relatively low. Then how dangerous is a very dangerous area? If not, then that information must be nonsense, but in this situation we have no choice but to believe, he said aloud. If places like Noon and Uijeongbu in the north are all in serious condition, then it is impossible to escape north of Seoul Gangbuk. In the end, we have no choice but to cross the Han River. To cross the Han River, the fastest way is through Yongsan or Dongdaemun to Songdong. But since it states that Yongsan and Songdong are also very dangerous, I guess we have to go round to the eastern area. Anyway, time is of the essence. As he took off his bag, he set it down and opened it. Fortunately, it says that Yongkondong, which is not too far from here, is at a safe level, so it might be better to head there, even if we have to take a little detour. There must be a reason why the infection rate is low. Perhaps the Rozzers or military have set up barricades for management, or something of the sort. Hanyena, still surprised, said, wow, I thought you were a clueless goober, but you're smarter than I expected. Jung Minjin replied, anyway, we have to leave here immediately. Hanyena protested, well wait, you're not seriously thinking of legging it right now, are you? It's proper dinner time, innit? Jung Minjin answered, if we want to dodge the infected, we've got to head out first thing tomorrow morning. Hanyena hesitated. Is it really possible for us to get out of Gangbuk? No. Even just make it to Yongkondong? Can't we just hold out for a few more days? Surely someone will come and rescue us before then. Jung Minjin snapped, Hanyena, if you want to croak in this basement, be my guest. I'm off when the sun comes up tomorrow. Hanyena froze in shock. She covered her lovely face and muttered, ha, bloody hell. All right, I should pack my stuff and scran first, yeah? Got another bag? Jung Minjin said, I've got a small carrier bag left, but it'll probably just get in the way. The next day, the sun comes up streaming through the window. Jung Minjin said, right then, shall we? Hanyena groaned, ugh, yeah. Jung Minjin stopped and looked back at her. But are you sure you're all right not going to your dad's hospital? Sorry to ask again. You said your old man works at the hospital, yeah? Shouldn't you check if he's still there, or where he's got to? Hanyena paused, thinking silently, then forced a smile. Ah, it's fine. Ha ha. Let's just get a move on. The last time I spoke to my dad, he said he grabbed my mum and got out of Gangbuk to a shelter safe and sound. Happy. Jung Minjin, sweating and confused, replied, huh. Ah. Now let's go, she said firmly. Jung Minjin thought to himself, what's all this about? A few moments later, outside. Jung Minjin sneaks ahead. He spots a zombie nearby. He gives Hanyena a thumbs up, and she legs it toward him. As the zombies wander the streets, one groans, ugh. Another murmurs, cook. Jung Minjin whispered, this way. Hanyena replied, yeah. A few moments later, the streets are empty. They see a bus with a poster saying, Happy Birthday to Lumina. Hanyena said, anyway, it's surprisingly easy to move about at this time, innit? I must have been well on edge when I went to your gaff. I was proper scared back then. Jung Minjin said, I'm sure you've clocked it by now, but just be careful when you're going near dark, dodgy places. There's usually not many infected where the sun's beaming down. That said, it doesn't mean the infected won't have a go, so never drop your guard. Hanyena said, Yeah, but is Yongshondong really this far? Isn't it just round the corner? Jung Minjun replied, Just hang in there a bit longer. Hanyena sighed, There's a bike at my gaff. Should have brought it. Or riding an e-scooter would be well handy. Jung Minjun said, Well, like you said, riding a bike or an e-scooter would let us shift 3 to 4 times. The problem is the network's down, so we can't use the share scooters. Still, why does it seem like all the bikes have vanished? Can't see any about. Hanyena said, Oi, but can we take 5? We're walking so fast. My legs are killing me. Jung Minjun looked at her silently and said, Then he kept walking. Then how about we pop to a cafe and grab a brew? I'll go on ahead. Hanyena shouted, This little git. Now we're out of the house. You're starting to get on my wick, you know? Seriously, when we get to the safe zone, I'm not letting you off. Jung Minjun replied, Shut it. The infected'll hear us. A few moments later, Hanyena asked, How much further till we hit Yongshondong? Jung Minjun said, We've still got a bit to go. Hanyena, shocked and confused, said, What? You said we were nearly there. Jung Minjun replied, Not yet. Just hold on a bit longer. Jung Minjun thought to himself as I walked while listening to Hanyena's moaning, dodging the infected. Hanyena said, I'm so parched. Can I have some water? She was all teary-eyed. Jung Minjun, sweating, said, Water's precious, have some later. He thought to himself, I was getting well on edge too. A few moments later the road was blocked. Jung Minjun said, They've put up a massive barricade, Hanyena said, Whoa. Jung Minjun continued, Anyway, from here on it's Yongkondong, and if they've blocked off the neighborhood like that, it definitely looks safer than other places. Hanyena said, Really? That's a relief. Could there be survivors? Let's check it out. Jung Minjun said, But if there's this level of barricade, shouldn't the survivors be guarding the area nearby? Hanyena added, I've not seen any infected about either, and there's less of that funky rotten pong. Jung Minjun warned, Just in case, don't drop your guard. Hanyena called out, Oi, Jung Minjun, look over there. That looks like it'd be perfect to hide in. Shall we rest there for a bit? I'm absolutely knackered from all this walking. Jung Minjun said, There's no time for that. Stop exaggerating and come on. Hanyena shouted, What? Exaggerating? That son of a biscuit? A few moments later, Jung Minjun thought to himself, So, we've come to the exact same situation as Chapter 0. Hanyena started to cry. Jung Minjun looked at her silently. She said, Sorry. Jung Minjun, surprised, said, Huh? Hanyena repeated, I said I'm sorry. Suddenly zombies started sprinting toward them. Jung Minjun shouted, But behind! Hanyena turned and saw them. A zombie shrieked, Kyarg! Hanyena screamed, Ah! Jung Minjun grabbed her delicate, soft wrist and pulled her as they ran. Hanyena shouted, They said this neighborhood was safe. Jung Minjun yelled, Just leg it for now. Suddenly they saw a man in the distance. Jung Minjun said, A survivor? The man called out, Quick, this way. Jung Minjun said, Cheers. The man added, I'll close it, so hurry inside. Jung Minjun said, No, I'll help. Hanyena looked back and shouted, Jung Minjun. Jung Minjun said, Hanyena, you get yourself hidden. The man counted, 1, 2, 3. The zombie roared Kiarg. It managed to grab the cabinet. The man yelled in panic, Hike! Gee, get off! Jung Minjun, sweating in shock, shouted, Mister! The zombie pushed the cabinet down and growled, Gra! The man suddenly legged it, shouting, It's broken through! Run away! Hanyena screamed in fear. Kia! Jung Minjun yelled, Run to the back! As they ran, a white-collar zombie chased after them. Jung Minjun helped Hanyena climb the barricade. He said, We have to jump. Hanyena, trembling, replied, Yeah. They jumped. Han Yena cried out in pain. Kia! She looked at her ankle. Ah, my foot. It's sprained. Jung Min-jun, confused, said, What? The zombies roared. Ah! 2 of them charged toward them. Jung Min-jun's eyes widened. He remembered Han Yena's words before the outbreak. Seriously, you're so bloody frustrating too. If gits like Park Sung-bin bully you, just fight back a bit. If you've been hit like that, next time you'll still get battered, but you should have the guts to stand up. Honestly, seeing someone like you makes me feel so pathetic. You should at least have the courage to fight back, even if you're not good at anything. If you live like that, doesn't life feel miserable? Jung Min-jun took out a knife from his jacket and thought to himself, Even if I snuff it here. Han Yena was shocked and looked at him. Jung Min-jun, he said to himself, I won't die just from running away like a coward. As the zombies charged toward them, Jung Min-jun stood his ground with the knife in hand. As the zombie was about to get near Jung Min-jun and Han Yena, a motorbike rushed toward them. Park Sung-bin shouted, Get down! As Jung Min-jun looked behind in shock, Park Sung-bin smashed the zombie's face. His mate said, Nice one. Park Sung-bin's other mate on an e-scooter said, Oi oi, grab that little git too. Park Sung-bin shouted, Get down, you flipping son of a biscuit. His mate said, Oi oi, get the geezer in the suit. Smash his skull in, fudge. Kekiki, Park Sung-bin said. Kia, that impact was mental bloody hell, Kikiki. I'm telling you, riding a bike and swinging a bat is the peak of fun. Park Sung-bin looked behind confused when he saw Han Yena and said, Huh? Yo, Han Yena, what are you doing here? Han Yena said, You... Park Sung-bin replied, Eh? I wonder, who's this geezer? Jung Min-jun sweated in shock and said to himself, I'm so done of all people. Park Sung-bin said, Jung Min-jun, you blockhead, why are you with Han Yena? Kekike. Park Sung-bin, 18 years old, Sungun High. 2nd year, class 3. Jung Min-jun said to himself, I've just run into someone I'd rather avoid even more than the infected. As they silently looked at each other, Park Sung-bin said, Oh, what's with the knife? Kikiki, don't tell me you were planning to fight those things with that. Kikiki, I thought you were just a coward, but I guess I was wrong. Kikikika. So you two just bumped into each other. What a bloody random combo, Kikikike. Han Yena said, Oh yeah, it kind of just happened. I honestly would have snuffed it if it weren't for you lot. Gee, cheers. Park Sung-bin said, Yo Han Yena, Kiki, I saved your life, Kek. Anyway, where were you heading, Yena? Come with us. We've got a hideout with like a dozen survivors. Han Yena said, Ah, really? Is it safe? Park Sung-bin said, Yeah. There are adults there too, and it's locked down tight. Proper safe. You don't need to worry, Han Yena said. But did you lot hear? They're shutting down Gangbuk. Shouldn't we be getting out of here now? Park Sung-bin said, Oi, haha, too late for that already, Kekeke. Han Yena said, What's that supposed to mean? Park Sung-bin said, It's a long story, so come to our hideout and we'll explain. Can you ride on the back? Han Yena said, Ah, cheers. Park Sung-bin's mate said, Oi, if Han Yena's on the scooter, where am I riding? Park Sung-bin said, You two can share the kickboard, Kiki. As Park Sung-bin stared at Han Yena, he said, Kekeke oi, but seriously, is it all right to bring Han Yena with us? Kike, his mate said, Gasp, Kikikeki, good point. Han Yena said, What do you mean? Park Sung-bin said, Nothing, haha. Just hop on, Kiki. Han Yena looked back at Jung Min-jun and said, But what about Jung Min-jun? He's got to come too. How will we bring... Park Sung-bin said, Eh? That geezer too? Park Sung-bin's mate said, Yeah, what are we going to do about him? Just leave him. His other mate said, Will that bloke not just slow us down? We've got to save Scran too, you know. Oi, Jung Min-jun. Good luck surviving out here, Kiki. As Han Yena silently sweated, Park Sung-bin said, No, let's take him too, not like it hurts to have one more person. Jung Min-jun said, Forget it, I'm not going. Park Sung-bin said, What? Jung Min-jun said, I'll handle things on my Todd. I've got somewhere I need to be. Han Yena sweated and said to herself, Jung Minjin. As Jung Minjin walked off, Park Sungbin said, "Oi, hang on. This bloke's ignoring me again, huh? You remember last time, right? If you ignore me again, I'll really mess you up. The country's already in chaos, so I can take you out now. No problem, get it? Want me to smash your head in, just like I did to those zombie creeps?" As Jung Minjin looked back at him, Park Sungbin said, "I'm telling you nicely. Get over here, you flipping nobody." Han Yena said, "Oi, Park Sungbin, are you mental? What do you mean take him out? And you're the one who battered Minjin last time too, right?" Park Sungbin said, "Seriously, you've not changed a bit." Jung Minjin remembered what Park Sungbin had said before. "Yo, Changmin, if she comes with us, don't you reckon today's the perfect chance? Want to try something?" His mate said, "I saw her photos on social media. She looked crazy fit. Is she just as fit in person?" Park Sungbin smirked and said, "Yeah, total match kek." His mate said, "Whoa, fudge, she's insanely fit then, Kiki, but Park Sungbin, why are you even messing with her anyway?" Park Sungbin said, "Didn't this geezer already do something with her? Kekie. Poo ha 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 ha." As Jung Minjin silently listened in shock, in the present, he sweated while thinking about what they said before. Park Sungbin said to Han Yena, "Ah, sorry kek. I was acting a bit too wild in front of Yena Kekeke." Han Yena said, "If you do that again." Park Sungbin said, "Well, stop nagging me already." And Jung Minjin said, "All right, sorry Sungbin, I'll come with you." Park Sungbin looked at him in shock and said, "That's more like it. Minjin walking out of this neighborhood right now is basically suicide, you know. Kek, let's go to the hideout first. Rest up, and I'll ride you to your destination on the bike tomorrow, Kek. Sound good?" A few moments later, at the streets, Park Sungbin said, "Right, this way. You've been here before, right, Minjin? Kekeka." Han Yena, confused, said, "Where even is this?" Jung Minjin said to himself in shock, "This is the way to that abandoned building site where Park Sungbin always battered me. They're using this as a hideout." A boy in a white shirt shouted, "Oi, blockhead! You left an opening over—" "Oh," his mate responded. "Then go fix it yourself, blockhead." Jung Minjin whispered to Han Yena, "Han Yena!" Han Yena looked at him, confused. Jung Minjin whispered, "Honestly, I don't think we should be going with these gits. We should take a chance and slip away." Han Yena, still confused, said, "What are you on about?" Jung Minjin said, "I just get the feeling they're going to do something to us. Something about this doesn't feel right." Han Yena replied, "Oi, don't worry, Kikiki. These gits are total pushovers, Kikeki. And Park Sungbin's been my little lackey since primary school. If he tries to hit you again, I'll cover for you, all right? And anyway, there are other survivors and adults at the hideout, right?" Jung Minjin said, "And you're seriously believing that 100% like a mug?" Han Yena, maybe they're just schoolmates to you, but I know what kind of gits they really are better than anyone. You still just see Park Sungbin as some classmate you grew up. Han Yena looked at Jung Minjin silently. Then she turned to Park Sungbin and said, "Park Sungbin." Park Sungbin looked back. Han Yena continued, "Look, we're just going to head back. I heard my parents are at the Seepyeong shelter, so I was planning to go there. And if we don't leave today, it'll be too late." Park Sungbin said, "Huh? Really? There's a shelter in Seepyeong? As far as I know, Seepyeong got completely wiped out. And why would you risk going off with that silly loser Jung Minjin, just the two of you? If you're going to go, just rest today and leave with us tomorrow, yeah?" Han Yena said, Well, it's just kind of urgent. Anyway, we'll get going now." As Han Yena looked back, she said, "Let's go." But the two mates of Park Sungbin stood behind them. A man in a blue sweatshirt blocked Han Yena's path with his bloody bat. Park Sungbin said, "Haha, Yena, I already told you. If you're going, go with us tomorrow. Or is there something going on between you and Jung Min?" "What the heck is going on with you two all of a sudden?" Hey. Han Yena trembled and said, Park Sungbin." Then she gathered her courage and said, I am going." "Are you seriously?" Jung Minjin said to himself, "Knew it." I figured this would happen. Then he said aloud, "All right, let's just go with them and talk it out. The sun's going to set soon anyway." Hanyena began to sweat even more. A few moments later, Park Sung-bin continued walking ahead and arrived at the building site. Jung Min-jun said to himself, "This is definitely the place they've built barricades on both sides to keep the infected out. Looks like they put in some effort. Still, it feels kind of slapped together." Jung Min-jun looked at Hanyena, who was sweating. He gently tapped her stomach, and Hanyena looked at him, confused. Jung Min-jun said, "Don't worry." He smiled at her and said to himself, "I won't leave your—" As Hanyena silently looked at Jung Min-jun, suddenly a zombie shouted, "Gah!" Hanyena was startled and said, "Kia! That scared me." The zombie groaned, "Grah! Ah!" One of the boys nearby shouted, "Wah!" Hanyena said, "What the heck? Are you sure this place is safe? Do something about it." Park Sung-bin said, "Ah man, you scare way too easily, ha ha ha. Just chill, there's no way they're breaking in, ha ha ha." Jung Min-jun thought to himself, "What do you mean it won't break through? It looks like it could collapse any second. Now that I look closely, we're literally and completely surrounded by infected, aren't we?" The zombies outside shouted, "Grah! Rah! Wah!" Jung Min-jun thought again. Who builds a shelter in a place like this? Park San-in said, "All right, come on, climb up here." Jung Min-jun thought, "Ah, so we're going up to the second floor using a ladder. I guess if they pull the ladder up, the infected can't—" As Jung Min-jun climbed up the ladder, Park Sung-bin called out, "Brought them, elder brother." A Jung Min-jun froze in shock. Lee Bong-yu said, "Eh? What is this? We've got new guests." Park Sung-bin said, "They're from our school, same class. You've heard of Hanyena, right?" Lee Bong-yu said, "Ah, you're Hanyena, nice to meet you, I'm Bong-yu Oppa." It was Lee Bong-yu, and 19 years old. Runs several businesses. "I've been wanting to meet you, ha ha ha. Ah, and I followed you on social media. Why didn't you accept my request?" Park Sung-bin said. "Remember I mentioned Bong-yu Hyung before, right?" Hanyena said, "Ah, but pretty sure that's my first time hearing that." She thought to herself, "Whoa, who is this pig-faced freak?" Lee Bong-yu slowly stood up and said, "This place is totally safe, so just relax." Hanyena trembled and said, I heard they're shutting down gang books soon, so staying here might be a bit—" Lee Bong-yu said, "Oh, that? Total nonsense, haha. I heard every road to Gangnam and across the Han River is already blocked off, ha ha ha. We're just going to have to tough it out here until rescue shows up, ha ha ha." Hanyena said, "Sorry. On no way." Lee Bong-yu said, "Honestly, even if no rescue comes, we're set up well enough to eat and sleep just fine here, ha ha ha. Pretty sweet, right? Ha ha." Jung Min-jun looked around. Camping gear was set up, fuel, wood, and logs for fire, and the stairs were blocked. He thought to himself, they seriously put all this together themselves. "No, did they just break into someone else's shelter that was already here?" Lee Bong-yu said. "Did you find anything today?" Park Sung-bin replied, "I was going to check the shop, but we ran into these gits on the way, so we didn't make it." Lee Bong-yu grinned and said, "Yo-yo, turned out great. We've already got more than enough scran, but bringing a bird? That's a total score, haha. Poo-ha, haha." Hanyena sweated and thought to herself, shoot. Jung Min-jun was right. I totally got played by this sorry excuse for a person, Park Sung-bin. She tapped Park Sung-bin's back and said, "Oi, Park Sung-bin, can we have a word for a sec?" Park Sung-bin looked back and said, They walked to the back. Park Sung-bin asked, "What is it, Yena?" Hanyena said, "Seriously, knock it off already. Can you just let me go back? I honestly didn't know it was going to be like this. You know I hate this kind of atmosphere, especially the people you hang out with. I'm really sorry, but I don't think I can stay here. And honestly, I don't believe all that stuff about the Han River Bridge being shut down either. I think I just need to keep going where I was heading. I'm going back." As she walked away, suddenly Park Songbin grabbed her delicate wrist. Han Yena called out, "Jung Min-jun, let's go back." Park Songbin said, "Oi!" Han Yena, shocked, looked back. Park Songbin said, "You lady dog, you think you can just leave?" Park Songbin said to Han Yena, "You still think the world works however you want it to, huh?" Han Yena trembled in fear and said, "You?" Jung Min-jun suddenly grabbed Park Songbin's wrist and said, let it go," as he sweated. Park Songbin was confused and said, "Ha, this fool Jung Min-jun, you have finally lost it, huh?" As the zombies downstairs walked around, Park Songbin said to Jung Min-jun, "Oh, you clown, what if I don't want to stop? What are you going to do? Huh? Are you going to stab me with that knife from earlier?" Han Yena said, "Park Songbin, that's enough." Park Songbin said, "What? Now that it's happening, you can't do it. Come on, stab me, you pathetic coward." Lee Bong-yu said, "Oi, oi, what's going on here?" Park Songbin said, "Ah, Jung, ha. Yena says it's kind of minging in here since it's not indoors like she expected." "He." Lee Bong-yu said, "Hey, it's fine. You'll be sleeping inside the tent anyway. Also, this silly geezer Jung Min-jun is carrying a kitchen knife. I told him to hand it over, but he won't give it up." Lee Bong-yu continued, "What? You four-eyed little git. You were carrying something that dangerous, hand it over, clown, unless you want your face smashed in." Jung Min-jun said to himself, "I can't let them take my only weapon, but there's no way I can take all 5 of them on my Todd with just this." He handed over the kitchen knife. The second-in-command said, "Oi, Four Eyes, listen up. Bong-yu is the gaffer here, and I'm his second-in-command." If we were the army, Park Songbin would be like, "What, a squad leader?" Anyway, the point is, if you don't listen, you're doomed. This country's in a state of emergency. Without a proper chain of command, this place goes to chaos. Got that? 2 warnings and you're done for. Jung Min-jun said, "Yes." And he thought to himself, what a load of absolute nonsense. These tossers. Lee Bong-yu suddenly put his arm around Han Yena and said, "Yena, you must be knackered from the trip, right? Go get some kip in the tent." Han Yena was startled and said, "Ah, dang, that scared me." Lee Bong-yu said, "Eh? What was that? Did you just say dang?" Han Yena said, "No, I was just startled. I've kind of been in panic mode for the last few days." Lee Bong-yu said, "Ah, ha, well, I guess that's fair with those zombie freaks out there. Anyway, my tent is a deluxe full-on camping tent, haha. The mat is super soft and cozy too, you know. Go on and get some rest." Han Yena said to herself, "This geezer's a complete psycho. I've got to think fast and buy some time." Han Yena said, Sorry, but, Oppa, I'm really hungry. Could I maybe eat something?" Lee Bong-yu said, "Huh? You're hungry? Dang, Yena's hungry. Of course we have to eat. We scored a ton of pork belly from the butchers." As Jung Min-jun sweated silently, Lee Bong-yu said, "Should we have a pork belly party tonight?" The others cheered. "Whoa!" Jung Min-jun said to himself, "This is the worst. This place has no rozzers. It's basically a lawless zone with no safety at all." Han Yena said, "Ah, crap, hold on." As Lee Bong-yu held Han Yena's delicate shoulder, Lee Bong-yu said, "Ah, sorry, haha. Dang, Yena, you're so unbelievably cute." Jung Min-jun said to himself, "Especially for Han Yena. These thugs are just as dangerous as the infected. That fat pig is definitely not going to leave her alone. She could be in danger any minute. I've got to think. I need to find a way to get her out of here, right now. Should I lure the infected here and throw these gits into a panic? No, but then what about the other survivors? And I can't be sure those 3 older survivors are totally trustworthy either. Maybe tonight, when everyone's kipping, that's when we should escape. If those bastards do anything to Han Yena by force before I act, bloody hell." A few moments later, some pork is being cooked on a grill. Lee Bong-yu said, "I'm going to eat next to our cute little Yena." "Ha, Han Yena said, "Kia!" Ugh, you smell like pig." Lee Bong-yu, confused, said, "Huh, what?" Han Yena said, "No, I meant the pork belly smells amazing." "Wow, looks delicious too. Hey, Lee Bong-yu said, "Ah, haha, yeah. It smells good enough to make you curse, haha." Second in command said, "That pork belly smell hits hard, haha." A few moments later, second in command hands over the fatty parts of the pork to Jung Min. He said, "Oi, Four Eyes, take this meat to those older gits." Jung Minjin said, "Ah." Jung Minjin sweats and thinks to himself, "Just a few pieces. That's too stingy. I should give them some of mine too." As he walked toward the old gits, Jung Minjin said, The old gits looked at Jung Minjin, confused. Jung Minjin said, "It's not much, but please have this." An old geezer sweated and said, "Ah, cheers, kid." A few moments later at night, while some wood burns for heat and light, Jung Minjun and Han Yena sit together on the floor. Lee Bong-yu suddenly called, "Yena, why do you keep staying there? Come here and relax with us." Han Yena said, "Don't wanna." Lee Bong-yu said, "It's already bedtime." Han Yena sweated and said, "I'll just kip out here by myself." She thought to herself, "I'll have to sneak out while they're all—" Lee Bong-yu stood up and said, "Ugh, freak. You've been acting cold this whole time, haven't you? If you keep this up, what does that make me?" Park Songbin stood up and said, "Oi, that's enough, Hyung." Lee Bong-yu was shocked and confused. He said, "What?" Park Songbin said, "You didn't hear me?" "I said back off, you silly coward." Lee Bong-yu said, "Park Songbin, you son of a brat. Are you mental? Did you get shot in the head or something, dumb freak?" Second in command said, "Oi, what the heck? Park Songbin, what are you doing?" Park Songbin said, "Hey, freak. Ever since I ended up stuck here with you, Bong-yu, I decided I'd kill you first, haha. Forget the Hyung crap. You piece of trash, I'm a gaffer now, haha." Lee Bong-yu shouted, "You brat!" He tries to punch Park Songbin but misses. Park Songbin suddenly goes behind Lee Bong-yu and puts him in a chokehold. Lee Bong-yu groans in pain. Park Songbin said, "Just snuff it, you worthless." Second in command shouted, Park Songbin, are you out of your mind? You mother freaker." Yomteng hits him with a golf club. Second in command cried out in pain. "Gak!" Park Songbin said to his mates. "Kill him! Kill them both, those freaks!" Lee Bong-yu groaned. "Gah! Gwa!" He struggles to breathe while second in command is beaten by the others. An old geezer said, "What the heck is going on? Should someone stop them?" Jung Minjun and Han Yena watch from a distance. Jung Minjun said to himself, "This is it," he said to Han Yena. "Han Yena, now's our chance." Park Songbin heard him and was shocked as he saw Jung Minjun and Han Yena running away. He said to his mates, "Get those brats!" One of them in a blue hoodie grabs Han Yena's jacket. Han Yena said, "Kya?" Jung Minjun looks back and says, "Ha Han Yena." Han Yena struggles and says, "Let go of me." The one in the blue hoodie says, "Stay still if you don't want to snuff it, you freak." "I said don't move unless you want to get stabbed." Han Yena bites his arm. The geezer in the blue hoodie screams like a child. "Ah, you!" Han Yena runs away. The geezer shouts, "You silly brat!" He tries to stab Han Yena from behind, but Jung Minjun suddenly grabs his arm. Han Yena looks back while Jung Minjun protects her and says, "Jae Jung Minjun?" The one in the hoodie sweats and says, "That this little mother freaker." "You, where does a loser freak like you think you get off?" He kicked Jung Minjun in the stomach. Jung Minjun shouted in pain. "Gah!" Their mate in a blue hoodie slashed Jung Minjun, dropping the knife as blood splattered on the ground. Han Yena, shocked, said, "Ju." She saw Jung Minjun wounded. Jung Minjun muttered in confusion, Han Yena shouted, "Jung Minjun!" Yomteng kicked Jung Minjun and yelled, "You worthless punk! You want to go?" The mate in the blue hoodie shouted, "You jerk!" They all started beating Jung Minjun. Han Yena screamed like a terrified girl. "Ka!" Park Songbin suddenly grabbed Han Yena's delicate wrist and said, "Ugh! Hey! You know, Han Yena, I've been into you since middle school. Every other girl gave in so easily. Hech! But you were the only one who didn't, huh?" What? You act all high and mighty because your family's minted or something. Ha! Han Yena, terrified, whispered, Pa, Park Songbin. Park Songbin sneered. Playing Queen Bee in that stuck-up school district your Dr. Daddy forced you into. You had fun, didn't you? Hey, I'm doing just fine too, you know. I've got dough, I eat well, I live well, better clobber, better body. I've got nothing to be ashamed of. So why the heck are you always acting so above me, huh? Heh. Let's see what our fancy little Yena tastes like. He smiled like a maniac. Han Yena screamed, Kia! An old geezer shouted, Oi, Kia! No matter what's going on, you can't just. Park Songbin kicked the old geezer and cursed. Ah, get lost already. The old geezer groaned in pain. Gah! He collapsed, groaning, ah! One of his mates cried out, Manager Kim, are you all right? Park Songbin shouted, Oi, old man, I warned you last time. I told you, act like a bossy old goat again, and I'd take you out. That's warning number 2. Time for you to go. He suddenly grabbed Manager Kim and hurled him out. Manager Kim screamed in terror. Han Yena stood frozen, sweating, watching in horror. Manager Kim fell to the first floor, groaning in agony. Gah. Zombies suddenly rushed at him, growling, Gah! Rah! Manager Kim cried out, Please, help me! Han Yena screamed, Ah! One of Manager Kim's mates shouted, Well, what the heck are you doing? You threw him down to the first floor? Another mate said, Are you mental? You maniac! Park Songbin barked, Oi! Take care of the other old git. But the mate in the blue hoodie stammered. Ha! What do you mean? Park Songbin screamed. What else? Toss everyone except Han Yena down to the first floor. The old geezers screamed in pain. Please spare me! Gah! Han Yena rushed to Jung Minjin and cried, Jung Minjin! Are you all right? She said in panic. Hurry, run! Park Songbin suddenly said, Where do you think you're going, Yena? It's hell out there. You're staying here with me. Got it? Han Yena screamed, Kya? Let me go. The mate in the blue hoodie approached Jung Minjin and said, Whoo! Jung Minjin! I guess it's your turn to snuff it now, you pathetic little loser. Hey, I actually kind of felt sorry for you. But hey, who asked you to act tough, huh? Yo, Yomtang, help me toss this geezer too. He grabbed Jung Minjin. He grumbled, I thought this geezer was a stick, but he's heavy as heck. Yomtang said, All right, 1. The mate in the hoodie said, 3. Suddenly, Jung Minjin grabbed the hoodie and growled, You're coming with me, you twisted tosser. The mate in the hoodie was shocked. Huh? They both fell from the second floor. Jung Minjin shouted, To hell! Han Yena screamed, Ah! As Park Songbin stood there, shocked and confused, looking at his mate. Yomtang shouted, Sungyeon! Park Songbin asked Yomtang, What happened? Yomtang replied, Kim Sungyeon fell to the first floor with Jung Minjin. Park Songbin exclaimed, That dumb fool. Suddenly, an old geezer shouted, Someone save me. A zombie growled, Her. The old geezer screamed in pain. Meanwhile, Jung Minjin and Kim Sungyeon were lying motionless on the ground. Kim Sungyeon groaned in pain, saying, Gah, puke. He tried to move and cried out, Gah, fudge. He looked around in confusion and muttered. Upon seeing his foot twisted in another direction, he stammered, What that? Why is my leg like this? Jung Minjin slowly stood up. Kim Sungyeon gasped, Jung Minjin. Suddenly he grabbed Jung Minjin's leg and, sweating in pain, said, Jung Minjin, you fool. Woo! Where are you trying to go? Fudge, my leg seems to be broken because of you. Suddenly, the old geezer, now a zombie, lunged at Kim Sungyeon as he uttered his final plea to Jung Minjin. Please, help me, Minjin. Liquid splattered on the ground as Kim Sungyeon screamed in agony. Yomtang was shocked and sweating as he said, Wah, fudge. Woo, what should we do? Park Sung-bin stammered. I don't know, just leave that jerk. Hanyena stood frozen in shock, sweating. She suddenly spotted an opportunity and ran away. Park Sung-bin noticed and stared, shocked and confused. He immediately sprinted after her, shouting, "Fudge!" Hanyena jumped onto a scaffolding and then leapt to another platform. Park Sung-bin yelled, "Hanyena, are you not going to stop?" Hanyena looked back in shock at Park Sung-bin. In frustration, he muttered, "Ugh, how dare you try to run away, you witch!" Hanyena continued to move forward cautiously. Park Sung-bin shouted, "Oi, you crazy witch! There are zombies crawling about. Where are you trying to go?" Hanyena saw another platform ahead. Park Sung-bin shouted, "Just wait until I catch you." Hanyena silently sweated, then started running. She jumped onto a shipping container. Upon landing, she cried out, "Ah!" She turned to look back at Park Sung-bin. Park Sung-bin laughed and said, "Crazy witch! Ha ha ha!" As he moved forward. He leaped onto another platform and said, "You managed to escape, huh? If you get caught by me." Suddenly, the box beneath him shifted under his weight. He looked down at it in confusion and said, "Huh?" The box fell. He crashed to the ground and groaned in pain. "Kiu!" Hanyena looked down in shock and muttered to herself, Now's my chance." She then shouted at the top of her lungs to attract the nearby zombies. "Oh, over here! This way, this way!" The zombies turned toward her direction. One zombie growled in confusion. "Gah!" Hanyena kept yelling, "Everyone, come this way!" Park Sung-bin stared up at her in shock. She continued shouting, There's a mean son of a gun here. Can someone please catch him?" "Aha!" Park Sung-bin started sweating in fear and muttered, "Hanyena, you!" He screamed in frustration. "You damned witch! I am definitely going to end you." His scream drew the attention of nearby zombies. One snarled, "Ka!" Park Sung-bin looked toward the sound in fear. Suddenly, the zombies sprinted toward him, growling, "Ooh, Quebec!" Park Sung-bin immediately turned and ran, yelling, "Fudge!" A zombie screamed, "Queek!" Another growled, "Kya!" Park Sung-bin shouted, "Ah! Gee, get away from me, you jerks!" Hanyena looked around and said to herself, "Where's Jung Minjun? Please." Thump. He has to be safe. A zombie groaned. "Gah!" Park Sung-bin shouted, "Ah, save me!" Hanyena saw Jung Minjun limping in the dark and said, "Jung Minjun!" "Yeesh, he's safe! What a relief! Here, over here." As Jung Minjun limped toward Hanyena's direction, he said in exhaustion, "Hoo! Ha!" Hanyena said, "See, can you come up?" Jung Minjun, weak and slow, held on to the container. He grunted in pain while climbing, saying, "Ugh, cute." Hanyena whispered, "Just a little more, please." She patiently waited for Jung Minjun to climb up the container. Then she grabbed his arm and pulled him up, saying, "Ugh." Jung Minjun said in pain, "Cute," as he tried to climb. Eventually he managed to get up, breathing heavily. "Ha ha." Hanyena said, Is your injury all right? Did you get bitten by the Jung Minjun said weakly, "Fortunately, I managed to avoid them, but I feel so dizzy." Yomtang suddenly shouted at them, "Oi, you foolish jerks! Where did Park Sung-bin go?" Jung Minjun and Hanyena looked at Yomtang. Yomtang shouted, "Just wait right there, you fool." Jung Minjun said, We have to hurry and escape." Hanyena said, "Ugh, yeah." As they turned away, Hanyena asked Jung Minjun, "See, can you run?" Jung Minjun replied, "Don't worry about me, just run well yourself." They jumped to the ground. Hanyena cried out in pain. "Ah," Jung Minjun said, in more pain. "Cute." Hanyena stood up and asked Jung Minjun, "Are you all right?" Jung Minjun, still in pain, said, Hanyena helped Jung Minjun up and supported him as they walked, saying, "Just a little more." Park Sung-bin continued to shout, "Ah, save me, Ka!" Jung Minjun and Hanyena walked down a dark path. Park Sung-bin screamed like a little girl, "Ka!" A zombie groaned, "Gah." Jung Minjin and Han Yena continued to walk slowly. Han Yena said, There must be infected people nearby. As expected, it's too dangerous at night. Jung Minjin, sweating in pain, said, Han Yena, if we get spotted by the infected, no. Even now, you should run away by yourself. Han Yena said in shock, Ooh, what are you saying? I will find somewhere to hide somehow. She added, I will save you no matter what. A few moments later, Han Yena said, This way doesn't seem to smell, so the infected might not be here. They walked into a quiet alley. Jung Minjin, exhausted, said, Ha, ha. Han Yena, sweating, said, Ha. She saw an open door. A few moments later, they entered. Han Yena looked around and whispered, I don't feel any presence at all. Ah, there's no one, right? She helped Jung Minjin and said, Let's take a short rest here. Jung Minjin groaned in pain. Ugh. Then he lay down on the ground. Han Yena called out, Jung Minjin. She looked at him and said, Please, be safe. Jung Minjin in pain said, Ha, ha. As Han Yena watched Jung Minjin, tears formed in her eyes. She whispered, I was wrong. If it weren't for me, you could have stayed at your house. Because of me, I attracted the infected and got you into danger. Because of me, you got dragged to a building site and ended up like this. Because of me, you suffered at school. She grabbed onto Jung Minjin's hoodie and continued, Please. Suddenly she heard footsteps and looked back in confusion and shock. As the footsteps grew louder, she saw a shadow coming near them. She said to herself, Who could it be? Suddenly a man with an axe was shocked and startled when he saw Han Yena. He began to sweat and said, What the? It's a person. His mate said, Gosh, you scared me. Then he noticed Han Yena and said in confusion, Huh? Aren't you the one from back then? Han Yena, also confused, replied, As she remembered the man who helped them 2 days ago, she said to herself, That's the geezer who helped us back then. The man then said, No way, you two. You're alive. Han Yena replied, You're safe too, mister. The man in the black jacket said, Huh? Is this boy hurt? Han Yena said, He's bleeding. The man in the black jacket said, Don't tell me he got bitten by the infected. Han Yena said, No, he wasn't bitten. He was stabbed with a knife. Please help. He's losing too much blood. The man in the green jacket, sweating, said, Oh no. Do we still have the first aid kit? The man in the black jacket said, Yeah, it should be in the rucksack. The man in the green jacket turned to Han Yena and asked, Are you all right? Yes, I'm fine. As the man in the black jacket moved behind Han Yena, suddenly he grabbed her from behind. Han Yena struggled, trying to shout, Mph, mph. The man in the black jacket laughed maniacally. Wahaha, ha-ha, what a jackpot! The man in the green jacket panicked. What do we do now? As another man walked in the shadows, the man in the black jacket said, What do you mean, what? We drag her with us. Han Yena continued to struggle. The man in the black jacket growled, Ugh, darn, but she's putting up quite a fight. The man in the green jacket said, Then beat her until she passes out. A voice then interrupted enough the man in the green jacket, the man in the black jacket, and Han Yena turned in confusion to see Kang Hakcheol. Kang Hakcheol said coldly, You've got until the count of 3 to back off. The man in the green jacket asked, What should we do about that geezer? The man in the black jacket said, Kill him. The man in the green jacket charged at Kang Hakcheol. Kang Hakcheol dropped his baseball bat named Lucial and drew a knife. As the man in the green jacket swung his pickaxe, Kang Hakcheol ducked and slashed the man's disfigured face. The man cried out in pain, Gah, 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 as he struggled to breathe. The man in the black jacket shouted, You jerk! Don't move! Oh, one wrong move and I'll snap this girl's neck! Kang Hakcheol raised his knife, and threw it like a professional assassin. The blade struck the man in the black jacket, ending his life. He muttered in pain, Gah! Han Yena gasped. Kang Hakcheol. It was Kang Hakcheol, 18 years old. Songun High, second year, class 3, a defector from North Korea. The hallway fell silent. A few moments later, Kang Hakcheol took out the medical kit and said, "Thankfully, the wound is not deep. He'll be fine." As Jung Minjun rested, Kang Hakcheol observed, "Looks more like he collapsed from being battered or shocked rather than from blood loss. He will need at least a day of complete rest." Han Yena said, "Thank you. But you're really good at this kind of treatment." "Where did you learn it?" Kang Hakcheol said. "Just sort of picked it up, back in the day," Han Yena said. But if you know how to do stitches like that, it's more than just basic knowledge, isn't it?" Kang Hakcheol replied, "More importantly, this area is really dangerous. So what were you doing here?" Han Yena said, We saw a flyer dropped by a helicopter. One of the safe zones listed was Yongshon neighborhood, so we came here, but we ended up getting caught by Park Songbin's group." Kang Hakcheol said, "Park Songbin? That abandoned building site?" Han Yena said, "Huh? You know about it?" Kang Hakcheol said, "Yeah, roughly. So what about him now?" Han Yena said, "Last time I escaped from that place, everyone was getting bitten. It was total." Park Songbin was also running from the infected, but I didn't see what happened to him after that. Kang Hakcheol said, "So he might still be alive. And about Yongshon neighborhood being a safe zone, it's nothing more than a rumor now," as he cleans his pocket knife. Kang Hakcheol continued, "Early on, after Seoul went to ruin, the people who stayed in this area tried all kinds of ways to keep the infection from spreading. Up until just a few days ago, infected were rare here, but the system wasn't well organized and now it's collapsing. As of yesterday, the infected have started showing up rapidly again. And now this place is crawling with people even crazier than the infected, especially someone like you, a young woman. People like you don't even show their faces outside anymore." Han Yena was shocked and confused as she sweated. Kang Hakcheol said, "If you're walking about unguarded and get nabbed, there's no telling what could happen, so you've got to be careful. It's not just the Yongcheon. Most of Gangbuk's practically a lawless zone now. Honestly, if things keep going this way, other areas, and even all of Seoul, might end up like this." Han Yena said, "No way." "But why are you here, Mr. Kang Hakcheol?" Kang Hakcheol said, "I've got my reasons. I was planning to cross into Gangnam at sunrise tomorrow." Han Yena said, "Huh? Really?" "Ah, right. Mr. Kang Hakcheol, you heard about it too, didn't you? That Gangbuk's getting sealed off." "Ah, right. The flyer said the lockdown starts today." Kang Hakcheol said, "Yeah, but the situation's got even worse. Outside, the zombies made chaotic sounds. Gah, wah, rah." Kang Hakcheol said, "I don't know if all of Gangbuk's locked down completely, but the bridges to Gangnam have been blocked since at least 2 days ago. And on top of that, there are so many infected near the bridges and Han River Park that it's basically impossible to even." The moment this all kicked off, people panicked like it was a war and rushed south. Then the government suddenly sealed the bridges, and eventually everything went to chaos. That whole process caused a massive buildup of infected near the Han River. Han Yena said, How do you know all of that?" Kang Hakcheol said, "I heard it from survivors who went to check the bridges themselves. They even showed photo evidence, so it's solid." Han Yena said, "So, that was all true." Kang Hakcheol said, "But it's not like there's no way across. If we can get a duck boat or a small boat, we might be able to cross the river somehow. Of course, we'd have to avoid all the infected out there." Han Yena said, "But are we even sure Gangnam's actually safe? Last I heard, infected have been popping up not just in Seoul, but all over the country." Kang Hakcheol said, "There's no guarantee that Gangnam's 100% safe. Still, my little sister was moved to a shelter in Gangnam, so I have to make it there." Han Yena said, "Your sister's at the Gangnam shelter?" How did you end up separated? Kang Hakchol said, the day after everything started, my sister, my uncle and I fled to a nearby temporary shelter. Not long after, a military unit arrived. They said gangbuk was too dangerous, and they'd be moving some survivors elsewhere, but they were only taking the elderly and children first, so I had to stay behind. A soldier said, we're moving the elderly and children first. Please wait here, we'll come back soon. Kang Hakchol's sister said, oh, Oppa! Kang Hakchol sweated and shouted, wait, please! Where are you taking my sister? The soldier replied, to the Gangnam shelter. Kang Hakchol said in the present, but the military never came back after that. Han Yene said, then what about your uncle? As people screamed, Kia! Kang Hakchol continued. Not long after that, an infected appeared inside the shelter, and everything turned into total carnage. My uncle and I tried to escape, but in the end, my uncle... That's how it happened. Han Yena sweated and said, ah. Kang Hakchol stood up and said, anyway, I'm leaving at sunrise. If I delay even a single day, it'll get a lot worse. Han Yena, shocked and confused, said, what? You are leaving at sunrise? Han Yena said, well, wait, can you take us with you too? We were planning to go to Gangnam as well. Kang Hakchol said, no can do. From my experience, moving with more than 3 people is too dangerous. The more people there are, the more unexpected problems will crop up. At least one of us would probably end up dead. Besides, Jung Minjun needs at least 1 day of rest, though calling it rest in this situation sounds ridiculous. Han Yena said, please, I'm begging you. I heard Minjun's mother is in Gangnam too. We have to get there somehow. Honestly, with just the 2 of us, we've got no clue what we're doing. We've no idea how we're even supposed to escape from here. Please, I'll even beg like this if I have to. As Kang Hakchol looks at her silently while she begs and kneels, Kang Hakchol said, you've really changed a lot, Han Yena. Han Yena looked confused. Kang Hakchol said, while we were classmates, I honestly didn't know much about you, but you seem really different from how you were at school. Kang Hakchol walked away with his bag and said, anyway, let's talk again after sunrise once Jung Minjun wakes up. Get some rest. Han Yena said, thank you. A few moments later, as the sun rises, Jung Minjun and Han Yena rest quietly. Kang Hakchol said, Han Yena. As Han Yena mumbled while waking up, she sat up and said in confusion, huh? Kang Hakchol said, when you escaped from that building site, you didn't actually confirm what happened to Park Sungbin, right? Han Yena said, yeah, but why? Kang Hakchol said, I'm thinking of going back there for a bit. Han Yena said, what? Kang Hakchol said, and if their scooter or kickboard's still there, I might as well bring it back. Plus, there are a few things I need to check. Han Yena said, hey, can you just not go back there? The barricades must have collapsed, and it's probably crawling with infected too. Most of the people who were there probably got infected already. And Park Songbin must have been attacked too. If something happens to you as well. As Kang Hakchol smirked, he said, the building site's only about 300 meters from here. Want me to tell you something? You know how I escaped North Korea with my younger siblings when I was 12? 10,000 kilometers? Han Yena sweated in shock and confusion. Kang Hakchol said, a broker. That was a luxury we couldn't... We had only one uncle, who'd already defected to South Korea to rely on, and we crossed the Tumen River like surveillance-deep ghosts, avoiding patrols inside North Korea. Without any broker, hiding from Rosas and checkpoints, we crossed China, passed through Laos, and made it to Thailand. It took 2 years to cross 10,000 kilometers and escape, though I did lose one younger brother along the way. When Jung Minjun wakes up, just focus on taking care of him. I'll be back. As Kang Hakchol went outside, a few moments later, he quietly climbed the barrier. As he successfully climbed over the barrier, Kang Hakchol said, all right then, let's go see whether that rascal Park Songbin is dead or still alive. Back in the room, Jung Minjun remained asleep. Suddenly he groaned and said, ugh. As Miss Han Yena patiently waited for Jung Minjun to wake up, she was shocked. Han Yena stood up and said, You're awake? Jung Minjun sat up and said, where are we? Han Yena said with her mouth wide open, Mr. Kang Hakshil treated you. Jung Minjun, confused, looked at Han Yena, her mouth still wide open, and said, Kang Hakshil from our class? Han Yena said, Yeah, I ran into him by chance after we escaped the building site. Jung Minjun said, But I'm sure, at the site, after I fell from the second floor with Kim Sonyeol, I don't really remember. Maybe it's the concussion. I vaguely remember you helping me and us going somewhere. Han Yena grabbed Jung Minjun's hands and said, Anyway, I'm so relieved. Jung Minjun, still confused, said, Huh? Han Yena said with teary eyes, Do you know how scared I was, thinking you might snuff it? As she placed Jung Minjun's hands close to her soft, large chest. Jung Minjun blushed and said, As they stared at each other for quite some time, Han Yena said in confusion, Huh? Suddenly she came to her senses and pushed Jung Minjun's hands away. He winced in pain and said, Han Yena said, I mean, who told you to get cut by a knife like that? I appreciate you helping me, but still, that was reckless. What was I supposed to do if you snuffed it? You scared the stuffing out of me. Seriously, you idiot. Jung Minjun said, Sorry, as he scratched his head and started sweating. Han Yena said, No, why are you the one apologizing? Just for thank you, okay? Do you even know how hard it was dragging you all the way here? Jung Minjun said to himself, What do you want me to say then? Han Yena said, And Mr. Kang Hakshil said you need to rest for at least one day, so you should get some real rest today, and we'll see how you're doing by tomorrow morning. Jung Minjun said, Really? But they say gangbook's going into lockdown. We don't really have time to waste. As he felt pain in his wound, he said, Han Yena said, Are you okay, you idiot? Why are you trying to move already? Just lie still. Jung Minjun said, Okay. A few moments later, Mr. Kang Hakshil knocked on the door as Jung Minjun and Han Yena looked at it. Kang Hakshil said, It's me, I'm coming in. Han Yena said, Kang Hakshil, huh? Kang Hakshil came inside and put down a bag. Jung Minjun said, Oh. Kang Hakshil said, This is your bag, right? The one you always carried at school. Jung Minjun said, Yeah, that's right. My bag. Kang Hakshil said, It was on the second floor of the building site, so I brought it. You had clobber and personal stuff in there. Thought you might need them. Oh, and there was a decent stash of emergency scran. I grabbed some of it. Jung Minjun, shocked, said to himself, Mum bought me bag. Kinda comforting to see it again. Kang Hakshil said, Oh, and one more thing. Your glasses were lying on the ground too. He handed over Jung Minjun's glasses. Jung Minjun, shocked, said, thanks. And he said to himself, Thank goodness, my glasses. Jung Minjun said to Kang Hakshil, Yena told me that you were the one who treated me. Kang Hakshil asked, How are you feeling? Jung Minjun replied, A little dizzy, but I'm all right. Han Yena said, Did you go check the building site? What about Park Songbin? Just as I thought, Park Songbin wasn't there. As Lee Bongyu and his mates said, Gra, Kang Hakshil said, Everyone else except him was infected. And the scooter was gone too, probably taken by him. The kickboard was wrecked. Han Yena, sweating, said, So there's still a chance we'll run into Park Songbin again? Kang Hakshil said, Yeah, but don't worry too much. I might lose in a fight, but I always win at killing. Han Yena said, Crazy. Kang Hakshil said, Anyway, like I said yesterday, I'm planning to escape gangbuk. You lot, think you can keep up with me? Han Yena and Jung Minjun were shocked. Jung Minjun said, Oh, of course. We have to get out, even if it's right now, Han Yena said. What? Hey, you're supposed to rest today, Kang Hakshul said. Yena's right. You can travel after you recover, Jung Minjin said. No, seriously, I'm fine. Things could be worse by tomorrow. Mr. Kang Hakshul replied. But still, let's not rush it. Let's make a plan first. If we hurry, we might mess everything up. As he opened a marker, he wrote on the whiteboard and said, I thought it over and... There's a way to cross the Han River, Han Yena said. How Kang Hakshul replied, using line 5. He began drawing a map, showing a route from Gangbuk, passing through the Han River, into Songpa, and crossing into Gangnam. Jung Minjun said, the underground tunnel beneath the Han River. Han Yena said, well, would that be safe? There's a high chance of infected in densely populated areas like the tube. Kang Hakshul said, Line 5 has screen doors at every station. Once we break through those, it's unlikely they'll be infected inside the tunnel itself. Of course, the real problem is getting inside the station and past the screen doors. And there are probably a ton of people who thought the same thing as us. The government might have even blocked off the Line 5 tunnel. But I reckon it's still worth checking out. So the closest Line 5 station from here is Jangan Station. As you lot know, it's a long walk, especially the moment we leave this neighborhood and enter Jangan district. Things are going to get way more dangerous. A few moments later, in the afternoon, Kang Hakshul wrote on the whiteboard, survival rule. 1. Do not rush. He said, this is the first survival rule I came up with. Gangbuk's already locked down, so don't panic over time and don't rush into anything. If there's a safe place, settle there for a few days, recover your strength and reassess. Never act out of desperation. Jung Minjun and Han Yena sat on the couch, sweating as they listened. Kang Hakshul continued. Second rule. Unless you're moving to another location, if you're just going out near a temporary shelter, go in pairs or solo. Avoid going out as a group of 3 or more unless absolutely necessary. And lastly, if you're ever in a truly life-threatening situation, do not throw your life away trying to save someone else. Like, even if you could survive by running, don't risk yourself trying to save someone else. Just take care of your own life. Even me. If it comes down to it, I'm going to survive in my own way. Never try to sacrifice yourself for someone else. Jung Minjun sweated in silence. The next day, Kang Hakshul said, Jung Minjun! Jung Minjun looked confused. Kang Hakshul handed over Lucille and said use this as a weapon. Sweating, looked at Lucille and said, You want me to use something this scary? Han Yena, also sweating, said, Ooh. Kang Hakshul said, It's not just for killing the infected, it's also good for threatening bad people. Just holding a weapon like that makes it harder for others to mess with you. And you know this already, but the infected will attack us like they're trying to kill us. When you fight back, stay focused and swing with everything you've got. You need to hit hard enough for that nail bat to pierce their heart or brain. Got it? Jung Minjun said to himself. Crazy. Kang Hakshul said, All right then, let's head out. As they exited, Taezong Labor Center. A few moments later, outside, Kang Hakshul, Han Yena, and Jung Minjun walked the streets. Jung Minjun said to himself, But is it really okay for me to kill the infected? They used to be normal people, someone else's family. They're coming at me to kill, but it's not like they're doing it by choice. If I kill them, doesn't that make me a murderer too? What if, by some chance, the country's legal system hasn't completely collapsed yet? As Jung Minjun read the message on the wall saying, You may be charged with murder, he thought, would what I'm doing be considered a crime later? Kang Hakshul said, Oi, Jung Minjun. As Jung Minjun looked at Kang Hakshul, he continued, You're not wasting time on dumb thoughts or worries, right? Just forget stuff like that. This is a matter of life or death. If you want to live, you need to stay sharp. If you don't harden your heart, you're dead meat. Jung Minjun said, Okay. Hanyana stared at something in the distance and said, Oi, wait. Kang Hakeo looked confused. Hanyana said, This road, can we not go this way? Hanyana said, I've got a bad feeling. There's probably a bunch of infected that way. Kang Hakchol asked, How can you tell? Hanyana answered, I can sort of tell by the smell. That foul, distinct pong. When infected are nearby, you can smell it. And this way, it's especially bad. Kang Hakchol was shocked and said, Can you sense where the infected are? Hanyana replied, Sense? Not exactly, it's more like a feeling, an intuition. And it's not always infected, sometimes it's just a dead body. Plus, if it's just one or two infected, I can't really tell unless they're well close. Jung Minjun was shocked and thought to himself, Come to think of it, she's always been unusually sensitive to smells. She reacted strongly to them several times before. Kang Hakchol said, I'll go check it out real quick. A few moments later, Kang Hakchol was shocked as he saw zombies scattered around, groaning, Dra, gru, ah, hek, gra. Kang Hakchol thought to himself, Hanyana, can she really sense the infected? Hanyana asked, There are. I was right, wasn't I? Kang Hakchol said, You were right, going that way's too risky. Hanyana looked around and said, Oi, take a look over there. Kang Hakchol looked up, confused. What are you looking at? Jung Minjun said, I reckon there's a soldier on the rooftop of that building. He's probably infected, right? Kang Hakchol thought to himself. Huh? He moved ahead and said, Come with me for a second, Jung Minjun replied, confused. Huh? As they entered a building, and Kang Hakchol looked out the window and said, It's fine, there aren't any infected up here, come on. Hanyana panted, why did we come up here? Kang Hakchol used his binoculars. I spotted at least 3 infected soldiers, and yeah, they're all infected, but one of them's still carrying a rifle. Jung Minjun said, Oi, you're not seriously, wait, are you thinking of taking that rifle? Maybe we should just forget it, Kang Hakchol responded. If there's more than 3 of them, getting close to the one with the rifle will be nearly impossible. And what if there's no ammo? We can't even tell if it's... Even if we get the rifle, firing it will make a ton of noise and attract a swarm of infected. Jung Minjun added, and we don't even know how to use. Kang Hakchol interrupted. No, I know how to use it. That weapon, we need it. We're taking it. A few moments later, Hanyana said to Kang Hakchol, Oi, what the heck are you saying? Minjun literally just explained it. How are you going to deal with 3 infected at once in that cramped space? And that rifle, you said it's still strapped to the soldier's body, right? So the only way to take it is we'd have to kill that infected soldier. There's no other way round it. Jung Minjun thought to himself, but there's been something bugging me for a while. He remembered a time in his room, aiming at a zombie approaching him and firing a rifle at it. Jung Minjun continued thinking, that lingering unease I haven't been able to shake. If that's the case, that weapon might be something we have to get, sooner or later. Jung Minjun said aloud, All right, let's take it. Hanyana, sweating, said, What? Oi, you lot are seriously mental, aren't you? Even getting up there looks tough as heck. And how do you even plan to fight those infected? Kang Hakchol replied, Then we'll go on our Todd. You hide here. Hanyana said, Fine. Then I'll help too. What should I do? Kang Hakchol said, It looks well cramped up there, so if all 3 of us go, it might actually be more dangerous. So it's better if you stay hidden here. Can you hold on to our bags instead? Hanyana said, Me? All on my Todd. It's even scarier being alone, though. A few moments later, at noon, a zombie girl faced a camera and groaned, Gula! Kang Hakchol sneaked behind her. He said to Jung Minjun, Let's grab this railing and climb up. You all right with that? Jung Minjun said. Yeah, Kang Hakchil said. But Minjun, you don't seem that scared of the infected. You didn't even hesitate coming this far. Jung Minjun answered. I mean, I am nervous, but I reckon that's making me more focused. As they reached the rooftop, Kang Hakchil peeked past the barricade. The 3 soldiers groaned. Gra! Ga! Kang Hakchil said, as expected, only 3 infected soldiers. But they're all huddled too close together, so sneaking up on them won't be easy. Jung Minjun said, all right. I heard from Miena you're good at throwing knives, right? Are you thinking of using that? Kang Hakchil replied, just throwing a knife won't be enough to take them out instantly. We need to finish this in 10 seconds. Jung Minjun, confused and sweating, said, 10 seconds? How are we supposed to take down 3 infected in just 10 seconds? Kang Hakchil said, obviously, I can't take on all 3 by myself. That's why I need your help. I'll rush in first and take down the closest one right away. That'll draw the other 2 to me, right? Then you hit one of them with the nail bat. Jung Minjun, shocked, said, whoa, what if something goes wrong? Kang Hakchil said, no matter what happens, you only need to take down one. Just don't freeze up. Can you do it? Jung Minjun said, yeah, I'll try. Kang Hakchil said, Jung Minjun, I get it. You're hanging in there, struggling, but right now survival comes first. We have to do whatever it takes to stay alive. Jung Minjun replied, yeah. He thought to himself, right. Ever since what happened with that geezer in the rooftop room, I realized they're not human anymore. They stared at the zombie soldiers. Jung Minjun snuck along the side, while Kang Hakchil stood atop the barricade. Then he jumped. The zombies suddenly screamed, Grah! They charged toward Kang Hakchil. He pulled out his pocket knife, thinking, I need to strike clean if I want to finish it in one hit. As a zombie soldier ran at him, Kang Hakchil focused. A kill shot! He struck the first zombie clean. Kang Hakchil's eyes widened in shock. Another zombie charged toward him. Crap, he thought. I have to take at least one of them out in one blow. He quickly slashed at its neck. It didn't go in deep enough, he realized. The soldier zombie, still holding a rifle, screamed, Rah! Ah! Kang Hakchil grunted, then shouted, Jung Minjun! Jung Minjun raised Lucille and swung the bat as hard as he could from behind. The infected soldier held its head. Ha! Jung Minjun muttered, sweating in confusion. The zombie turned around and shrieked, Rah! Jung Minjun panicked. Ah, fudge! What the heck? Get away from me! Ah! Kang Hakchil watched the scene, gritting his teeth. That's not going to be enough. Suddenly the other zombie rose and lunged at him. Grah! Gah! Gah! He winced and thought, I need to take out the one with the rifle first. He pulled his knife back and stabbed it into the neck of the rifle-wielding zombie. They both collapsed. Kang Hakchil dropped his knife. Shoot, he muttered to himself. The remaining zombie soldier growled, Rah! One infected is on Jung Minjun. Another one's charging at me. Kang Hakchil thought, at this point all I can do is pray. Please let there be at least 2 bullets left in this rifle. He cocked the rifle. Rah! The approaching zombie howled. Rah! The one grappling Jung Minjun bellowed. Jung Minjun groaned, Coo! Where the heck is all this strength coming from? Bang! Kang Hakchil fired the rifle. Kang Hakchil! Jung Minjun shouted. The zombie by him stumbled. Coo! Ka Ruar. Kang Hakchil smirked. Not bad for a rookie, Jung Minjun. Now the real fight begins. Bang! Another shot rang out. Han Yena, startled, jolted by the sound. That was 2 gunshots, wasn't it? She whispered. Shoot, that was loud, she muttered, pulling out her binoculars. Please, 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 please. She looked through them. They're safe, I reckon. Jung Minjun, catching his breath, said, Sorry, I don't think I was much help. Kang Hakchil shook his head. No, you drew one of them away. That saved me, but later we're going to need to practice swinging that bat properly. But seriously, that was impressive. Minjin muttered. Firing in that position. Have you shot before? Kang Hakchol said. Maybe 2 or 3 times when I was 12. Never with my left hand, though. I was just going off instinct. Lucky I didn't hit you. Huh? Jung Minjin responded, still in awe. Kang Hakchol removed the magazine and thought, let's see how many bullets are left. 1, 2, 3. Huh? Minjin said, confused. Down on the street, the infected moaned and roared, Gra! Gra! Jung Minjin looked around nervously. Oi, I think I hear infected heading this way. Yeah, Kang Hakchil nodded. That gunfire probably drew them in. We need to hurry. Can you check if there's any ammo over there? Yeah, Minjin said. Meanwhile, in the other building, Han Yena kept watch through her binoculars. Haven't seen Minjin or Hakshil for a bit now, she mumbled. Did they already go down earlier? Is it all right to head down to the first floor and wait now? Suddenly a zombie outside screamed, Rah! More infected roared, Rah! Groa! They all rushed toward the sound. Han Yena trembled. The infected are all gathering that way. She started sweating. There's no way I can get down there right now. Shoo! I just stay up here and wait. No, more importantly, will they even be able to make it back safely? Suddenly her eyes widened. Huh? She muttered. An old zombie stood outside, and it smiled at her. Her heart stopped. She immediately ducked down and whispered, trembling, Did it just look at me and smile? As Han Yena hides, sounds were heard downstairs, then it went silent. The old, dirty zombie said, Gah! Gra! Gra! Ah! Raw! Ark! Han Yena said to herself, That's impossible. She sweated and continued telling herself, I'm sure we locked the first floor entrance on the way out, and we added the nearby stuff on top of it. The old, dirty zombie said, Ra! Ah! Roa. Han Yena said to herself, But don't tell me. They got inside. The zombie continued to say, Gra! Han Yena said to herself, How the heck are infected even capable of doing something like that? The old zombie said, Gra! Ra! Ra! Han Yena said, No, it's climbing up here. The old zombie walked up the stairs. Han Yena heard the footsteps. The old zombie said, Gra! The old zombie looked at the window. Han Yena covered her soft, delicate mouth. The old zombie stopped. He looked at Han Yena with an eerie smile. Then he walked toward her. Han Yena closed her eyes, then opened them gently. She saw the old, dirty zombie smiling at her, face to face. She was shocked and scared as she shouted, Kia! Ah! Suddenly, Kang Hakshil stabbed the dirty old zombie in the neck. Blood splattered all over Han Yena's face. Kang Hakshil said, Are you all right? A few moments later, Kang Hakshil said, Did you say? The infected smiled at you. Han Yena said, Yeah. It felt like I was facing a person, not a monster. Like the time I ran into that creepy pervy geezer, it gave me the same kind of shivers. Kang Hakchil said. Judging by what we saw, he was definitely infected. And I did lock the main entrance and block it off with stuff I found nearby. While it wasn't the most secure barrier, like the one I left in the room, still, everything was knocked over. Even the door itself was broken when we got here. As Jung Minjun listened, he opened his bottle. Kang Hakchil said, It's like someone who wasn't infected broke in on purpose. From what I know about infected behavior, they're all instinct and aggression, so this shouldn't even be possible. Could it be that one infected still had emotions or habits left? Han Yena sweated and said, Oh, that's impossible. Jung Minjun said, It's just a guess, but some infected might be, like you said, special types, or they could gradually be evolving. He refilled his bottle with water. As Kang Hakchil looked at Jung Minjun, confused, Jung Minjun said, What if someday they start climbing ladders, jumping across rooftops, or even developing coordination strategy planning attacks on survivors? They might not just evolve mentally, but physically too, almost in a state where they're brain dead, but with only their attack instincts intensified. Kang Hakshol said, "How do you even know that?" Jung Minjun said, Just a hunch. I mean, I don't know for sure, and it might sound ridiculous, but the way the infected act feels a lot like something from a game I used to play. I was really into it recently, so maybe it's just messing with my head." Kang Hakchul said, That's kind of a wild theory." Han Yena said, "You mean we're inside a game now or something?" Jung Minjun said, "No, of course not. Just forget I said it." Kang Hakchul said, "Anyway, what's real is that this is the worst outbreak in human history, and we have to survive it." Jung Minjun said, "Oh, by the way, when infected blood splashed on you earlier, you're not infected, right?" Kang Hakchul said, "I've had infected blood hit me several times now. Just making contact doesn't seem to infect you. So it seems like the only way to get infected is if you're bitten." A few moments later, Kang Hakchul said, "1 K2 rifle with 15 rounds. 2 military knives. I've still got my folding knife. So Minjin, you take one of the knives." Jung Minjin said, "The other one." Kang Hakchul said, "Yena, you carry it." Han Yena, confused, said, "Huh? You want me to hold this?" Kang Hakchul said, "You've got to protect yourself. If something like earlier happens again, are you going to keep relying on us every time? And you both should learn how to handle the rifle from me eventually." Han Yena and Jung Minjun looked confused and shocked. Kang Hakchul said, "If I snuff it, Minjun, you might have to use this rifle, and Yena, you might end up needing it too." The room fell silent at the weight of his words. Han Yena said, "Oi! Don't say nonsense like that, seriously." Jung Minjun added, "You know the people who say that kind of stuff are always the first to snuff it, right? That's like a total cliché in films and dramas. You're literally following the script right now." Kang Hakchul replied, "What are you even on about? I'm not dying, I'll do whatever it takes to survive. I'm just saying we need to be ready if it ever comes to that." Jung Minjun sat down beside Han Yena and said, "Well, you're not wrong, but honestly, I've always kind of wanted to try shooting a real gun. We probably can't practice firing it for real, though, because of the noise. And we don't have much ammunition either. How about you, Yena? Don't you want to try shooting too?" Han Yena looked away. Suddenly, she moved away from Jung Minjun. She said, "Who knows? I'm not sure." Jung Minjun looked confused. Han Yena continued, "Oh, and don't come near me." Still confused, Jung Minjun asked, "What's wrong?" Han Yena replied, "Just, I don't want to. Not right now. Be near you." Jung Minjun began to sweat and muttered to himself, "What? Out of nowhere? Did I do something wrong? That's just how she always acted toward you at school, isn't it?" Han Yena said to herself. "Ha! That freaking loner. He's got zero awareness." She sniffed at herself and kept thinking, "I haven't even showered in days. It feels minging. Perhaps I smell bad or something. I know survival's the priority, but I'm getting caught up in this nonsense. I must be an idiot. Maybe in a more extreme situation, I won't even care anymore." She looked at Jung Minjun and thought, "Honestly, none of that matters. I just don't want to be near Jung Minjun right now. Since when did I start caring about that idiot?" She looked down and muttered internally, "So annoying." As her cheeks turned slightly red, the next day, on the streets, as they walked, Kang Hakshol said, "Reckon this way's clear?" Han Yena replied, "Yeah, but there might still be 2 or 3 inside. Can't say for sure about indoors." Jung Minjun added, "Still, thanks to Yena, this actually feels kind of manageable. At this rate, we might really be able to move about easily." Kang Hakchol warned, "Don't let your guard down, though. Stay sharp." Kang Hakchol limped as he walked. Jung Minjun noticed and asked, "But are you all right? You've been limping for a while now." Kang Hakchol said, "Ah, yeah, I reckon I twisted something when I fell with that infected soldier. I might have torn a ligament. Jung Minjin began to sweat and was shocked. What? Hanyena said, Oi, shouldn't you be resting then? Jung Minjin added, You're the one who said not to push ourselves, Kang Hakchol said. I thought I was all right earlier, but this isn't a big deal. Compared to when I defected from the north, this is nothing. We should probably start looking for a place to kip soon. Hanyena looked toward a door and said, Ah? And Kang Hakchiol asked, Oh, what's wrong? Hanyena replied. There's something... Suddenly a zombie shouted from behind the door. Grrr! Hanyena jumped back in shock. Kya! That scared me. A Jung Minjin said, What was that? Is there an infected inside? A voice shouted from above. Oi, you're survivors, right? The three looked up, confused. An old geezer called down from a rooftop. I've been stuck on this rooftop for 2 days. Please help me. Kang Hakchol asked, How did you end up stuck up there? The old geezer replied, I went out to grab some supplies, then got chased up here by infected. Right now, there are infected inside the stairwell. I'm completely trapped. Kang Hakchol asked, But who closed the shutter on the front door? The old geezer answered, I asked a passing survivor for help, but they said there were infected inside and just shut it and left me here. Kang Hakchol said, Are there a lot of infected in the stairwell? The old geezer responded, I was being chased by maybe 6 or 7 of them. 6 or 7. Kang Hakchol thought aloud. From the looks of it, there really are infected inside, so he's probably telling the truth. 6 or 7, though, even if he's right about the number. He turned to the old geezer and said, I'm sorry. That's too many for us to handle right now. We're not in a position to help anyone. Kang Hakchol turned and began walking away. Let's go. Jung Minjin stared, confused. Ha! The old geezer shouted desperately. Well, wait, please, I'm begging you. I haven't been home in 2 days. My family's waiting for me. My wife and son are alone, waiting at home. And I still haven't found my daughter. If I don't get back... please, I'm begging you, Jung Minjin said. Sir, if you yell like that, you'll put all of us in danger. Please calm down. Hanyena said. Is it really okay to just leave him? Kang Hakchol said, We're not in a position to help anyone right now. We shouldn't take unnecessary risks. Let's move. Jung Minjin stood frozen, shocked. Then suddenly he said, Oi, isn't there some kind of way? Kang Hakchol stopped and sighed. Sigh, what kind of way? Jung Minjin said, Actually, I just thought of something good. I think I might be able to save him. The sky was clear. Jung Minjin, Hanyena, and Kang Hakchol stood before a tunnel blocked by several cars. Kang Hakchol glanced behind them and said, So basically, after opening the shutter, you'll lure those 6 or 7 infected over here, back to the path we just came from. Then, once you lose them outside the tunnel, you'll run back this way. And while you do that, Yena and I will push this white car to block off the tunnel entrance. Jung Minjin nodded. Yeah, he's not around anymore, but I used to help my dad push parked cars when they were in neutral, so I reckon we'll be able to move this one too. Hakchol, since your leg's messed up, I'll lure the infected out of the tunnel, lose them, and then circle back. As soon as I get back, you and Yena push the car in place to block them out. As Hanyena wiped sweat from her brow, Kang Hakchol listened carefully. He frowned and said, Unless you can really outrun them, this plan has a high chance of failing. Are you a decent runner? Jung Minjin hesitated. I mean, I'm above average, so I should be fine. And honestly, I'm not that scared of getting chased by the infected. Fair enough, Hakchol muttered. This tunnel's just wide enough for one person to get through, so if we angle the car this way, it should completely block the path. They approached the van. The door's unlocked, Hakchol said, testing the handle. And it looks like the parking brake's off too. But why are you going this far to save that geezer? I told you before, don't sacrifice yourself for someone else. Even if we risk our lives to save him, what do we actually gain? Hanyena added, Yeah. When you say it like that, it does sound too risky. For all we know, he could be a good bloke. Or a bad one. Jung Minjun stayed silent. A memory flashed in his mind. The old geezers at the building site. He had given one of them his own lunch plate. They were kind. They had died. Sweating, he finally said, I don't know. He doesn't seem like a bad person. He reminds me of those blokes who died at the building site. And, weirdly, he reminds me of my dad too. Kang Hakshol was quiet, then finally said, Let's push the car forward a bit first, just enough so we can block off the gap easily. Okay, Minjun replied. A few moments later, Kang Hakshol sat in the driver's seat. If we just turn the wheel a little, we should be able to position it right. Let's give it a gentle push. All right, 1, 2, Minjun counted. 3, he shouted. Hanyena grunted. Ka! Oh, it's moving, she said with a gasp. Kang Hakshol carefully steered the van as it inched toward the gap. After adjusting it into place, he said, This should be good, right? Just in case, I'll hide over there and get ready to shoot. Jung Minjun looked worried. But only use the gun if it's a last resort. Yeah, Hakshol nodded. Hanyena, still anxious, said, But what if there's an infected right by the shutter on the first floor? Wouldn't it just rush out the second it opens? And if they're scattered across the floors, that could be a problem too. Jung Minjun thought, then replied, If we ask the bloke to make a loud noise near the rooftop exit, the infected will probably all head upstairs. Then I'll open the shutter, make noise on the first floor, and lure them out all at once. Kang Hakshol turned to Minjun. Jung Minjun. Yeah? Minjun said. You do realize how dangerous this plan is, right? He cocked the gun. If there really are special infected, like you said, then anything could go wrong. Ah, true. But if there was a special infected in there, I doubt it would have just stayed trapped this whole time. It should be fine. I'm not willing to risk my life for anyone except my little sister. Understand? This is the last time. After this, no more risky plans like this. Jung Minjun nodded, sweat running down his neck. A few moments later, at the alley near the old geezer's building, Jung Minjun shouted, Over here! Get here! Here! He ran down the stairs and burst out of the building. The infected roared in excitement, tumbling after him down the stairwell. Wah! Minjun screamed as he ran for his life. Roars and growls echoed as the infected gave chase. Come try and catch me! He shouted behind him. From around the corner, Kang Hakshol watched the chase unfold. He turned to Hanyena. All right, it's now. Yeah, she said. They rushed to the tunnel and took their positions. Hanyena, sweating, whispered, Jung Minjun, please. Kang Hakshol stared intently down the tunnel. Snarling and growling from the infected echoed from within. Suddenly, Jung Minjun appeared, running full speed. Now! He shouted. Push it! As Hanyena and Kang Hakshol pushed the van toward the opening, they managed to block the path. The zombies' roars continued. Jung Minjun, catching his breath, said, Whew! It worked! Hanye said, Go. The old geezer, his voice trembling, said, Thank you. Jung Minjun was shocked and confused to hear this from the old geezer. The old geezer continued, Really? Thank you so much. You saved my life. Jung Minjun said, Sir, we shouldn't stay here. Let's get somewhere safe first. Kang Hakshol watched them silently. A few moments later, Jung Minjun asked, Well, wait, how many butane cans do you have? The old geezer replied, The electricity and water are still working at home. It's just the gas that's out. He went on lucky for us. Our house is near the restaurant district, so I've been able to find scran easily. I was planning to find a portable induction cooker, but ended up getting a ton of butane instead. Jung Minjun asked, How do you still have power, though? The old geezer said. We have solar panels, so we can run small electronics. Kang Hakshol looked at the coolers and said, Then as long as you stock up on Scran, you're basically set to survive. And actually, there's more useful stuff here than I expected. The old geezer nodded and said, Honestly, I've been coming out once a day to search nearby and look for my daughter. So, how about you students? Where are you headed? Jung Minjin said, but you don't need to speak formally to us. We're way younger than you. The old geezer shook his head. No, you saved my life after all. Jung Minjin said, Jay, just speak however you're comfortable then. He thought to himself he really does seem like a good bloke. Han Yena said, you heard about the Gangbuk lockdown, right? We're trying to escape before it happens. The old geezer said, that's going to be incredibly dangerous. Will you be all right? Han Yena hesitated, then said, but earlier you mentioned you don't know where your daughter is. The old geezer sighed. Yes. Actually, the last I heard from her was the day this all started. She was on her way home. I left my wife and son at home and drove out to find her. My car got stranded, and I nearly snuffed it. But I somehow made it back. I should have evacuated my wife and son first, but the situation outside was so bad that I missed the chance. In the end, we decided to stay together as a family, just in case, however slim the chance, that my daughter comes home. Han Yena wiped sweat and said, I hope you really do find her. The old geezer changed the subject. But by the way, where did you get that rifle? Kang Hakchol said, I just found it on the street. The old geezer nodded slowly. Now that I think about it, the sun's going to set soon. Do you have a place to kip tonight? Jung Minjin said. We were planning to find one now. Worst case, we'd break into a nearby building and spend the night. The old geezer smiled. Then how about staying at my house tonight? It's close by, and it's a detached home with plenty of space, electricity, running water, and Scran. Everything's there. Jung Minjin and Han Yena exchanged looks and said, Kang Hakshol said, Really? That would honestly be a huge help. Han Yena asked, Is this really okay? The old geezer said, Yeah, it's fine. Jung Minjin said, If Hakchol says it's fine, then I guess it is. Han Yena nodded nervously. Yeah. Jung Minjin added, If you have more stuff to carry, we can help you move it. The old geezer smiled gratefully. That would be great. Just don't overdo it. As the sun set, they arrived at the old geezer's place. He said, Here it is. Jung Minjin was shocked. It really is a detached house, with solar panels too. Kang Hakchiol muttered to himself, A brick wall, a steel gate, even barbed wire, and it has running water. It's a perfect safe house. Jung Minjin cocked the rifle again. The old geezer looked shocked and confused, and asked Kang Hakchiol, Why are you loading your gun? Kang Hakshol said, I've just seen too many crazy people out there. Please understand. We're walking into a stranger's place after all. But as you can see, my friends and I aren't bandits or anything. The old geezer wiped sweat from his forehead and said, Yeah. He then opened the door and shouted, Honey, I'm home. They entered inside. In a different scene at the clinic. The room was quiet. Suddenly the door was kicked open. Park Songbin stormed in and said, Fudge, thought I was going to snuff it again today. Barely made it. He wiped Jung Minjin's kitchen knife on his trousers. Park Songbin continued, But seriously, why are there so many tossers worse than the infected in this neighborhood? I reckon I've killed more people than infected at this point. This flipping place ought to be nuked and wiped off the map. He sat down and muttered, It's kinda cozy here. Might as well take a break. He then noticed a whiteboard and frowned. What is this? He saw a drawing of a map and smirked. Kiki, this little rascal. So this is where they've been hiding. They even ran into Kanghakcheol. Janghan Station, huh? So they're planning to cross the Han River using Line 5. As Jung Minjun, Han Yena, and Kanghakcheol entered the home with Seo Jae-hyun, the professor shouted, "Honey, son, Dad's home!" Kanghakcheol turned to Jung Minjun. Jung Minjun, wait. Jung Minjun looked confused. Huh? Yeah. Kanghakcheol continued. I'll go in first. Inside the house, Seo Jae-hyun called out again. Honey, Kanghakcheol muttered to himself, wary. What if this bloke's just tricking us? Worst case, we take the house by force. Then came another shout. Honey! Kanghakcheol froze in place, startled. From inside, a young voice called out, Dad! Seo Jae-hyun's wife ran out, eyes wide with emotion. What took you so long? I seriously thought you were dead. Their son burst into tears. Wah, Dad! Seo Jae-hyun knelt to embrace them both. I'm so sorry I was late. I'm really sorry. From the doorway, Jung Minjun silently observed the reunion and slowly lowered his guard. A few moments later, Seo Jae-hyun turned to his guests. Ah, sorry I didn't introduce them earlier. These are the ones who saved my life, Jung Minjun and his friends. His wife bowed quickly. Thank you so much. Jung Minjun waved his hands nervously. And not at all, haha, Moon Ji-yeon, 45 years old housewife. She smiled warmly. I'll go make some scran, so just relax and make yourselves at home. The water works, so feel free to wash up too. Han Yena, drenched in sweat, lit up. Oh, really? Well, we can actually take a shower? Moon Ji-yeon nodded. Of course. She took Han Yena's hand gently. Oh my, but... How old are you, sweetie? You're so pretty. Why would someone this gorgeous be out in danger like that? Han Yena flushed. Sorry. Moon Ji-yeon grinned. You could totally be a celebrity. Wow, you're so stunning. Jung Minjun silently watched the exchange from behind. Han Yena blushed even harder. Ah, thank you. You're really beautiful too, ma'am. Moon Ji-yeon fell silent for a moment, then quietly said, My daughter. She's about the same age as you. Han Yena's smile faded. Ah. Moon Ji-yeon continued, voice trembling slightly. She just started uni this year, but she went missing a few days ago. Han Yena gently replied, Ah, yeah, we heard about that. Your daughter. I'm sure she's still alive. Moon Ji-yeon smiled faintly. Thank you. Anyway, I shouldn't have brought that up. You all just rest. I'll handle the scran. Han Yena stood up. Ah, we can help with that. Moon Ji-yeon waved her off. No can do. You saved my husband. And you look about the same size as my daughter. Let me know if you need clean clobber. Meanwhile, Jung Minjun glanced toward the stairs. He caught sight of Seo Jae-hyun's son staring nervously at him. The boy quickly ran back up. Jung Minjun thought to himself, that must be their son? Looks like he's in primary school. Kanghakcheol sank into the couch. Whew, and Ji Minjun asked, how's your foot? Kanghakcheol took off his sock. Jung Minjun gasped. Gasp! Crazy! It's really swollen. Kanghakcheol nodded grimly. Yeah, I reckon it'd be best to rest here a bit longer, if we can still, just in case we should check out the house. Make sure everything's secure. Jung Minjun chuckled. Wow, you really don't let your guard down, Hakcheol. That survival mindset really hits different. A few moments later, in the shower, Han Yena stood under the hot, steamy water, sighing in pure relief. Kia! I can't believe I finally get to shower again. Ugh, I felt like I was going to snuff it from how minging I was. She grew silent. Her thoughts drifted back to earlier, Jung Minjun sprinting from a swarm of zombies. Why is he trying to act all cool now? It doesn't suit him. So annoying. She shook her head. Sigh, Jung Minjun. Seriously, I didn't think he had it in him, but he's got guts. If he tries pulling that crazy stunt again, I'm going to stop him for real. A few hours later, it was already 6:30 in the evening. Dinner had been served. Moon Ji-yeon clapped her hands. All right, let's eat. Dig in, everyone. Jung Min-jun's eyes widened. Wow, it's been so long since we had a proper meal. Seo Jae-hoon spoke. Up. Oh, right. I heard you're planning to escape to Gangnam. You do know all the bridges and roads to Gangnam are already shut down, right? How do you plan on crossing? Kang Hakshul answered. We were thinking about going through the Line 5 underground tunnel on the east side. If it hasn't been sealed off, we reckon we can make it. Seo Jae-hoon froze slightly. Line 5? If it's Line 5, then... Kang Hakchul tilted his head, confused. Seo Jae-hoon, 50 years old, uni professor, said quietly. The last place we heard from my daughter was Gwangnaru Station on Line 5. Jung Min-jun's eyes widened. Ah, really? Kang Hakchul murmured to himself. Gwangnaru Station. That's one of the last Line 5 stops near the Han River. It's about 6 or 7 stations away from here, starting at Janghan Station. Janghan Station to Gwangnaru. It's our final destination, the last stop before we cross the river. Kang Hakchul said, Our plan was to cross the river through Janghan Station, then head toward Gwangnaru Station through the underground tunnel. If your daughter's still alive, she might be somewhere nearby. Seo Jae-hoon nodded, eyes heavy with memory. Ah, that's exactly what I was thinking too. I drove toward Gwangnaru Station to look for my daughter, but I got stranded. I had to ditch the car and walk all the way to Janghan Station. But Janghan Station had already been completely overrun by the infected, and walking all the way to Gwangnaru was just too far. I couldn't leave my family behind to go alone. That's why I've just been stuck here, unable to do anything. Kang Hakchul nodded slowly. Right. Gwangnaru is almost 10 kilometers away from here. Are the roads around here also too dangerous to drive on? Seo Jae-hoon replied. I can't say I've checked every road, but most of them are blocked by abandoned cars or debris, so it's really hard to get through. You can drive a bit, but if your car ends up stuck along the way, it could turn into a deadly situation. Kang Hakchul frowned to himself. So driving's basically a no-go, huh? Han Yena suddenly spoke up, changing the mood slightly. But I don't think we've properly introduced ourselves yet. Ha. Seo Jae-hoon smiled, slightly embarrassed. Ah, right. Sorry, I should have done that sooner. I teach at a uni. Han Yena's eyes widened. Whoa! You're a professor. Then we should all introduce ourselves, ha ha ha. A few moments later, Moon Ji-yeon opened a bedroom door. This is my daughter's room. Would you 3 like to split up between this room and my son's room? He can sleep in our room with us. Jung Min-jun quickly waved it off. Ah, no, it's fine. Hakchul and I will just crash in the living room. Moon Ji-yeon insisted. Then at least Yena should rest in here comfortably. You probably haven't had a proper night's kip in days. Jung Min-jun glanced at Han Yena. Ah. Han Yena met his eyes, then turned to Moon Ji-yeon. Ah, it's okay. I'll just kip in the living room with my mates, haha. Jung Min-jun looked puzzled. Huh? Oi, just take the bed and rest properly. You haven't slept comfortably in forever. Han Yena shrugged. Ah, it's fine, haha. Jung Min-jun frowned. Why? Don't you sleep better alone? Earlier you were all grossed out sitting next to me, and now suddenly you're all friendly. Han Yena suddenly punched him. Ah, you're scared of sleeping alone, aren't you? He teased. She continued to punch him. Ah, I said I'm fine, okay? Ha ha! Ack! Jung Min-jun winced in pain. Han Yena walked out of the room muttering, Ugh, Jung Min-jun, you're seriously annoying. I swear I want to beat the stuffing out of you, you idiot. Sigh. Jung Min-jun groaned. I mean, what did I do? Kang Hakchul remained silent, watching everything. Later that night, Moon Ji-yeon said softly, Good night, everyone. Han Yena responded cheerfully, Yes, good night. Sleep well. Jung Min-jun leaned toward Kang Hakchul. Did you check the house? How is it? Kang Hakchul replied, Nothing seems out of place. I reckon we can rest easy. Jung Min-jun gave him a look. Doesn't seem like you're resting easy when you're even kipping with your gun strapped on. A few hours later, 10:30 p.m. The 3 of them lay in silence. Han Yena pretended to sleep. Then she quietly opened her eyes and whispered, Are you lot asleep? Jung Minjin responded. Looks like Hatchell's already out. I'm still awake. Hanyena sat up. Jung Minjin blinked at her, confused. You must be knackered. Why aren't you sleeping? She asked. Well then, let's chat a bit, haha. What were you thinking about? Jung Minjin looked at her, glasses off. Just thinking about my mum, wondering if she's all right. If nothing bad's happened to her. She's probably really worried about me right now. Being here, around this family, makes me think of her even more. Hanyena stayed quiet for a moment, then said softly, I'll help you find your mum, no matter what. Jung Minjin looked at her, then looked away. Thanks. He sat up slowly, But this might sound like I'm prying, but I've just been curious. Your parents, we still don't know where they are. Are you really all right with that? They're your only parents after all. Hanyena looked down. Yeah, I guess I can tell you, Jung Minjin. He blinked, surprised. I haven't told this to anyone before, about my parents. Hanyena said, actually, my family's a blended family. We're a total wreck of a family. Jung Minjin began sweating and said, Ah. Hanyena continued, I don't know if you've heard, but my father was pretty famous. He even appeared on telly. Sometimes he's also a doctor at a large hospital. And my mother was a medical researcher. They divorced when I was young, and my mother moved to America. After that, I lived with my father and my stepmother. A few days earlier, Hanyena said to Jung Minjin, What, you're doing it again? Jung Minjin walked away. Hanyena called out, So you're just completely blanking me now? Oi! Ah, fudge, are you... I'm talking to you. But Jung Minjin kept walking. Hanyena sighed and muttered, Honestly though, he's kind of pathetic, weak and helpless. I'm going to tell Park Songbin to mess him up tomorrow. She watched Jung Minjin silently as he walked away. A few moments later, Hanyena entered the building and said to herself, But if I think about it, I don't really have any right to pity Minjin. I really hate going home. If that crazy lady's there, I'll just change quickly and leave. Later, at their flat, she heard noises from her stepmother. Ha! Baby. Hanyena looked at the floor, noticing her stepmother's shoes and bag, and another pair of men's shoes beside them. The squeaking noises grew louder. Hanyena muttered, Fudge! What a crazy woman. She thought to herself, My stepmother openly cheated on my father because she had leverage over him. My father was always busy at the hospital, barely ever home. Hanyena entered her room and took off her school uniform. Suddenly, her stepmother barged in and shouted, Oi! Why the heck are you home so early today? Hanyena replied, I'm leaving right away anyway. Ah, you smell like booze. Minging. Her stepmother yelled, Did I not tell you to ring the bell before coming in? Hanyena said, Why would I ring the doorbell to enter my own gaff? Ah, right. She glanced back with a mocking smile and said, Is it because you don't want me hearing you fooling around with some random bloke in the bedroom? Hey, her stepmother shouted in anger. You little brat. Going to meet another bloke, huh? Crazy kid. Look how short your ridiculous skirt is. Even though Hanyena was clearly wearing shorts underneath, she said, Perfed, hey, like you can talk, hey. You're the one cheating openly, hey. At least I know how to have decent fun, unlike you. Her stepmother snapped. You want to fight? Suddenly a man walked in, buttoning his shirt, and asked, Baby, who is that? Ah, your daughter. Her stepmother replied coldly, She's not mine. She's my husband's child. Hanyena took out her phone and snapped photos of her stepmother and the man. She said, Should I send this to father? The man stammered in shock, sweating nervously. Whoa, what? Oi, don't you dare. Her stepmother scoffed, lit up a cheap fag and said, Nah, forget it. Go ahead, send it. The woman's name was Choi Soo-jin, age 36, a former actress turned influencer. Hanyena's stepmother. Hanyena, confused, said, What? Choi Soo-jin grinned and said, Go ahead. Even if your father sees it, he won't dare say a word. He can't escape me. I've got him cornered. You know it too, right? Hey! Want me to tell you some juicy secrets about your father that even you don't know? She blew smoke directly at Han Yena's face to overpower her. Choi Soo-jin continued. It's not like I've got anything to lose anyway, so if I blow everything up, who do you think will lose the most? If he divorces me, he's finished. Hey. He'd lose his wealth, ruin his hospital, and his reputation would be totally destroyed. Ha ha! That is why. Go ahead and tell him to divorce me. Kya ha! Han Yena remained silent. She then walked out of her room, bumping into Choi Soo-jin, and muttered, Crazy woman! Choi Soo-jin shouted, Ah, what? Crazy woman, you must really want to fight. The man nervously said, Baby, you drank too much. Choi Soo-jin kept shouting, seriously, hey. She's exactly like her trashy mother, hey. Even her nasty way of speaking is the same, he. What's the use of being smart, he, when your personality's absolute garbage? Hey. If you're going to leave, then get lost already, you ridiculous brat. Han Yena slammed the door shut. A few moments later, outside, Han Yena muttered to herself, Fudge, this place is minging. From now on, I'm never coming back to this hellhole. Never. I will never set foot here again. I'd rather the world ended tomorrow. She went to a karaoke bar. A woman in the crowd sang loudly, Even in darkness, I will shine for you, we are Lumina. Han Yena thought to herself, What's this news? Things got crazy suddenly. A woman beside her gasped, Crazy, I have to go. My mother just had an accident. She's in critical condition. Her friend shouted, Oh, then shouldn't you hurry up and go? Han Yena looked at them confused. A few moments later, outside. As Han Yena walked, she muttered, Why am I getting so many emergency alerts suddenly? Even my messages are blowing up. Suddenly, a man screamed, Kaya! As Han Yena stood confused, a man came running toward her and shouted, Wah! Run! A woman running behind also screamed, Kaya! A few hours later, Han Yena arrived at the stairwell of a building. Exhausted from running, she panted, Huff! I barely escaped. She looked up at a room above. She entered and said to herself, Even 119 emergency's not working. What the heck's going on? Let me try calling father. No answer. Even at a time like this. Well, he never put me first anyway. Mother, you're in America now, so you definitely can't help. Who else can I call for help? She paused, staring at her phone. Then she whispered to herself, The one person I hate most. She dialed. The screen said, dialing, Stepmother woman. Choi Soo-jin answered and said, What is it? Han Yena, panicked, replied hello. Choi Soo-jin snapped, What do you want? I'm busy right now. Han Yena stammered, I'm trapped on the emergency stairs of a building near the main street. Help me. I tried calling emergency services, but nobody's picking up. Choi Soo-jin exclaimed, Fudge, what the heck are you saying? Figure it out yourself. Han Yena, sweating in fear, mumbled, What? Choi Soo-jin shouted, Our flat's in chaos too. I'm hanging up. I've got to save myself. Han Yena pleaded, Hey, wait! You have a car, right? It's near the FD building by Jung Pilates. Please come pick me. She heard chaos on the other end of the line. Han Yena stood silently. Then she remembered a time with her mother. Yena, open the door. Yena, let's talk just a moment. Han Yena had sat on the other side of the door and replied, Just go away. She cried and whispered, Mom, I miss you. Later, Han Yena continued speaking to young Minjin. In the end, my stepmother abandoned me and ran. My father never even answered my calls, so I don't care if I ever find either of them. I don't care what happened to them. I just miss my mum right now. Jung Minjin asked, Then your mum's still in America? Han Yena replied, After she moved there, she tried reaching out a few times, but I never answered. I've never called her first either. Jung Minjin said to himself, Now I understand. Is that why she kept saying she wanted to study abroad in America? Han Yena continued, When she left for America, I said something I shouldn't have, something that really hurt her. Up until this whole disaster started, I hesitated to call. Even if I called now, she's in America and couldn't help anyway. So, there's nobody left around me now. Jung Minjun looked at her. He said, "Don't say that. You're not alone." As Han Yena listened, Jung Minjun continued, "You've got me." He paused, then added, "And Hakchal too." He looked at her with assurance. "So, let's survive this together, no matter what." Han Yena was shocked. She blushed slightly and softly replied, A few seconds later, Jung Minjun asked, "Should we get some kip now?" Han Yena answered, Outside, a zombie grunted in agreement. "Ga?" A few hours later, the sun shone brightly. Han Yena slept peacefully, already on Jung Minjun's side of the futon. Meanwhile, Kang Hakchiol dreamed quietly. He remembered an old geezer shouting at him, "You little brat. Should I drag you off like your parents and put a bullet in your head too? What, choking up now? Blame your traitorous uncle who ran off to South Korea." "Ha ha ha," Kang Hakchol pleaded. Please spare me." The old geezer shouted again, "You and your worthless siblings are destined to live in filth forever. That's your fate. Why? You're angry. Then come at me." Suddenly Kang Hakchiol woke up. He heard the noise of an engine outside. He sat up immediately and thought, a car engine. Seo Jae-hoon entered the living room and said, "Did you hear that?" "I think a car stopped outside." Kang Hakchiol responded, "I'll go check it out." As he heard the sound of car doors opening and closing, he muttered, "Car doors opening and closing. What is this?" If the infected react to the sound of the engine, it could be dangerous. Who the heck brought a car here? He looked around and spotted a ladder. He placed the ladder up to the roof. A few seconds later, Kang Hakchol climbed toward the rooftop. As he looked around, he was suddenly shocked and confused, as Kang Hakchol saw two blokes outside the gate. College boy said, "How about checking here this time? I wonder if there's anyone here." Jung said, "Considering there's barbed wire in place, there may be people. There might be infected around us, though." College boy said, "Ah, fudge. Then what are you doing? We'd better hurry up before the infected discover us." Kang Hakchol said to himself, "A gun." And he points his rifle at them and said, "Freeze. Drop your weapons and put your hands up." As College boy and Jung were shocked and confused, College boy said, Whoa, that flipping scared me." Kang Hakchol said, "Drop your weapon, you sons of biscuits. If you don't drop it within 3 seconds, I'll make holes in your skulls." College boy puts down his desert eagle, and Kang Hakchol said, "Both of you, step back 3 meters. And he said to himself, "Hold on, where did he get that gun from?" College boy said, Who are you?" Kang Hakchol said, "That's my question. Are you looters?" Jung said, We're not strange people." Kang Hakchol said, "You even came with weapons. Who are you trying to lie to, you fudgeheads?" Jung said, We thought this was an empty house." Kang Hakchol said, "Where did you get that gun?" College boy said, We got it from a dead body. I don't think he was a soldier." Kang Hakchol said, "Lie. A civilian possessed such a weapon." "Is this America, sillyhead?" College boy said, I swear, fudge, why does it matter where that weapon came from? You're the one armed with a rifle." Kang Hakchol said, "This rifle's a widely used gun in the military. That pistol, however, doesn't seem to be a military or Rosa firearm, right?" Jung said, We're really not bad people. I'm just an ordinary office worker, and this geezer's a uni student who just got discharged from the reserve forces. We came here after patrolling and getting isolated at the Gunja station shelter." College boy said, "That's enough, older brother. Let's just leave." And he said to Kang Hakchol, "Please just let us go. We'll take our weapons away." Kang Hakchol said, "Did you just say Gunja station? Line 5, Gunja station." And he said to himself, "It's 2 stations before Guanyaru station." Jung said, "Yes, there's a large shelter there." Kang Hakchol said, "Do you have any proof that it's true?" College boy said, "Whether it's true or not, you should go see for yourself." Well, you might snuff it on the way there, but even if you get there it'll be difficult to get in and out. Kang Hakchul said, if so, everyone's probably thought about crossing the Han River via the Line 5 underground tunnel. College boy said, we've tried several times, but it's quite difficult now. All stations around Gunja are occupied by the infected, and I can't say more details. Kang Hakchul was silent for a moment and said, I want to hear more. If you have any helpful information, we're willing to listen. Have you seen or heard about a woman named Seo Hakyung, 20 years old? College boy said, Seo Hakyung. Hyung said, first of all, the surrounding infected might gather, so let's go inside and talk. Kang Hakchul said, but weapons are not allowed inside. A few moments later, inside the house, Professor Seo Jae-hoon sweats and said, Gunja Station shelter? Jung said, it's a fairly large shelter with about hundreds of survivors, and the entrance is thoroughly blocked. The organization's somewhat systematic. Professor Seo Jae-hoon said, hundreds of people? College boy said, we were patrolling around a 1 to 2 kilometer radius from Gunja Station, but after being isolated and being chased by the infected, we ended up here. We got the vehicle midway between this neighborhood and Gunja Station. Kang Hakchul said, that's not the point. Please talk about what we just discussed. Hyung said, you said that you lost contact around the time your daughter passed Gwangnaru Station while she was returning home on Line 5, right? Professor Seo Jae-hoon said, yes, that's right. Hyung said, and the exact time when the call was cut off was 8:10 in the evening that day. Professor Seo Jae-hoon sweats and said, yes. As he remembered when he answered the phone and said, hello? Well, what do you mean? Seo Hakyung said, people are attacking and causing chaos on the tube right now. Professor Seo Jae-hoon said, well, who are those people? Seo Hakyung said, I don't know. I'm running to the next car with others and blocking people from coming in. I'm scared, Dad. Professor Seo Jae-hoon said, where are you now? Seo Hakyung said, I'm almost at Gwangnaru Station. Wait. As Professor Seo Jae-hoon heard chaos on the other line, Professor Seo Jae-hoon said, after that, I don't know if she got off the tube when she stopped at Gwangnaru Station. Hyung said, I also boarded a tube heading from Gwangnaru toward Gunja Station that day. Professor Seo Jae-hoon said, oh really? Hyung said, an infected person appeared in one of the cars inside the train. The tube passed through Gwangnaru Station and Akasan Station without stopping, like an express train, and then stopped at Gunja Station. The time was around 8:10 to 8:15 in the evening. It's very likely that we took the same train. Kang Hakchul said, if what they said is true, there's a high possibility that your daughter is at Gunja Station. As Professor Seo Jae-hoon sweats, he then said, then, have you seen my daughter? Her name is Seo Hakyung. Well, wait a moment. I'll show you her picture. Jung said, there are so many people that we at the shelter might not be able to recognize her. As Professor Seo Jae-hoon hands over his phone, college boy said, from the picture, it's a bit ambiguous. Hyung said, as expected, we can't be sure. The train had over 200 survivors on board at that time. Many infected individuals emerged inside the train, so we can't be certain if your daughter's already been infected or if she's among the survivors at the shelter. Then, are you going to come with us? What will you do? College boy said. Entry's strictly blocked for outsiders, so they probably won't let you in easily. If you're going, it's better to go with us. Some guards are blocking the entrance with rifles, like this Mr. here, so you could get shot if you're careless. Kang Hakchul said, our numbers are large. It'd be tough to move all together. Hyung said then, let's set a rendezvous point halfway to Gunja Station. If you're moving by car, I can tell you the route for that. We'll find a hiding spot around here and leave tomorrow. And I'll give this to you. As he hands over a radio, Kang Hakchul said, a walkie-talkie. Hyung said, it'll be on standby within 500 meters to 1 kilometer, so talk to me. Use it while keeping your distance from our group until the rendezvous point. In return, please give us 2 days' worth of supplies. If we do this much, you'll trust us, right? As Kang Hakchul was silent and looks at him, A few moments later, inside the living room, Han Yena said, "Gugunya Station Shelter?" Kang Hakshol said, "Yes, we agreed to meet at a midpoint and head to Gunja Station. They're hiding nearby and will leave tomorrow." Han Yena said, "What if they're lying?" Kang Hakshol said, "They've no reason to lie, and although they have weapons, from how they act and speak, they don't seem like bad people." Kang Hakchol looks at Professor Seo Jae-hoon and said, "What will you do, Professor, tomorrow? We're thinking of leaving. If we move on foot, it's probably impossible for us to travel together with your family. But if we find a 6-seat vehicle, we might be able to move together to some extent." As Professor Seo Jae-hoon sweats, Kang Hakchol said, "Of course, only along the route they've told us about. But as you said, if the vehicle gets stranded, I won't be able to guarantee our safety either. I'm making this clear. If a dangerous situation arises, I'll only look after myself, and you will have to take care of your family on your own. Please think about it carefully." As Professor Seo Jae-hoon looks down and sweats, Moon Ji-eun said, "Honey." A few moments later, on the fridge, Han Yena said to herself, "If we're leaving tomorrow, we should prepare some supplies. If the professor's family's coming, we'll need quite a bit. I should get a rucksack that I can carry." But where did Jung Minjin go as she walks upstairs? Jung Minjin said, "Hajun, you play so many games, yet you study well too. That's really impressive." Hajun said, "So if you don't play Loblox or Brawl Stars, what game do you play, Hyung?" Jung Minjin said, "I also play Land Pub. But recently I've been playing a zombie game called Rage Z." Hajun said, "Oh, me too. Actually, I'm not supposed to play that because of the age restriction, but I play it secretly without my parents knowing. I dream of becoming a game developer just like the creators of that game." Jung Minjin said, "Oh, your dreams to become a game developer. You study well, so I reckon you can definitely do it." Han Yena walks inside the room and said, "Oi, when did you two get so close?" "Ha ha." Jung Minjin, confused, said, "Huh? Ah, we were just talking about some men's stuff." Han Yena looks at the wall and was confused. She then looks at the poster and said, "Oh, are you a Lumina fan?" As the poster shows a Lumina girls. Hajun said, "Yes, I like Jian Nuna." Han Yena said, "So cute." "Hey, hey." Moon Jiun said, "Hajun, come down here for a moment, let's talk for a bit." Hajun said, "Okay," as Jung Minjin stares at the poster and Han Yena looks at him silently. As Jung Minjin stares at a particular girl, Han Yena said, "Oi, Jung Minjun, laugh out loud. Why are you staring so intently? Is she your ideal type?" Jung Minjin said, "Ah, I knew her when I was little. Yijan." Han Yena was shocked and confused. She then shouted, "Ha, that's a load of nonsense. You say you knew Lumina Jan?" "Nah. Oi, pull out her contact info, even if it's a joke, that's too unrealistic." "Ha ha." "Pooh ha ha." Jung Minjin sweats and said, "It's true. She's a year younger than me, but of course I haven't contacted her. She moved after entering middle school. When I heard she became an idol, I was still cheering for her from afar. Well, she's now in a different world than mine." Han Yena looks at him silently and not amused. Jung Minjin said, "Fine. If you don't want to believe me, then don't. I told my mates about it too, and they made me sound like I was delusional." "Hey," Han Yena said, "Ha ha, I knew it. It's impossible that someone like you knew Lumina G." Jung Minjin walks out of the room and said, Yeah, just joking, just joking." As Han Yena stood silently, and she looks at the poster and said, "Still, there's no way. Ha, but she really is incredibly beautiful." A few moments later, in the living room, Professor Seo Jae-hoon said to Kang Hachol, "Hachol, I've discussed it with my wife and son. Honestly, I don't reckon there's any hope if we stay here any longer. We'll also head to Gunja Station Shelter together." As Kang Hachol was shocked and said, "Then about the vehicle?" Professor Seo Jae-hoon said, "I have a vehicle in mind. It's a sports utility vehicle, so it's perfect, but it's parked in a trapped area, so it's hard to bring back. There's an ambulance about 1 kilometer away from here. It has an infected driver inside, but if we can handle it, it should start." Kang Hakchol said, "An ambulance?" Professor Seo Jae-hoon said, "The back has enough space for 6 people, so it should be perfect. But the problem is, when I last approached and checked the ambulance, There were 2 infected in the driver and passenger seats, and I could hear infection sounds from the back. So there's at least 3. Kang Hakchul said, "Did you check it yourself?" Professor Seo Jae-hoon said, "I saw 2 infected in the driver's seat with my own eyes. That was about 3 days ago, so they should still be there." Kang Hakchul said, "Understood. If there's 3 inside, with your help, we can handle it. It'll be too risky if there's more than that." "Then let's finish all preparations and head there together tomorrow," Professor Seo Jae-hoon said. "Understood." A few hours later, Kang Hakchul said, "Looks like all the luggage, including Yena's rucksack, is packed. Anything else?" Jung Minjin said, "Oi, Hakchul, is there any chance? You know how to make Molotov cocktails. How about making a few?" Kang Hakchul said, "Molotovs." Jung Minjin said, "Yeah, I thought we might need them later, so..." Kang Hakchul said, "Molotovs. Yeah, good idea. At night, in the living room, Kang Hakchul looks at the ceiling silently. Jung suddenly said on the radio, "Mr. Hakchul, did you get a vehicle?" "Over." Kang Hakchul picks up the radio and said, "There's an ambulance parked some distance from home, so I plan to check it out tomorrow morning. If everything's good, we'll just head out with that ambulance, but there could be variables." "Over." Jung said, "We're waiting near a building at the nearby intersection. We'll also head out tomorrow once you have everything in order. I hope there's no big problem." Outside, the fog covers the streets. As the zombies lurk around the ambulance, as the zombies inside the ambulance said, "Creak, grr, Jung said," on the radio. Then, "I wish you all good luck. Over." At night time, while Hanyena was kipping, she let out a little moan in her sleep. She was dreaming she was still at school, dozing off at her desk. She groaned again, then jolted upright and mumbled, "Ooh, ah, that was a right dodgy dream. Zombies, you having a laugh?" She had a gander around and went, "Ha." Everyone cleared off then. She clocked the clock and said, "Hang on, why didn't anyone give me a nudge?" 5:30 in the afternoon. Hanyena said, "What's the time?" "Oh, bloody hell, I'm going to be late for my tutorial." She nipped over to the door and walked straight into Jung Minjin. "Ah, bloody hell, what the..." She clocked who it was. "Aha!" "Ah." Jung Minjin just stood there, dead quiet, staring at her. Hanyena went, "What you doing here? Why ain't you gone home yet?" Still nothing from Jung Minjin. Hanyena said, "Well, why are you looking at me like that? What's your problem? You couldn't even look me in the eye before." 12. Suddenly Jung Minjin grabbed her skinny little wrist, proper fragile like. "Kya!" Hanyena screeched. He shoved her right up against the wall. Hanyena got this weird fluttery feeling while staring at him and went, "Ju, Jung Minjin? What you playing at?" She was proper shaking and sweating. "You got a death wish or something?" "Gee, get off me," Jung Minjin muttered under his breath. "Bloody hell." And said, "Oi, witch, you enjoying yourself, are ya? Always blanking me." Hanyena was proper baffled. Jung Minjin carried on. "Last night, last week, and 2 weeks back you even swore at me, didn't you? Treat me like proper rubbish at school. And now you want to come sniffing round all of a sudden. Fancy a taste of your own medicine, do ya?" Hanyena went red as a beetroot and was sweating buckets. "What?" "Payback." She looked away, sort of secretly quite liking it, and said, You're still a loser. Whoa, why you acting all hard all of a sudden?" Jung said, "Shut your gob. Call me a loser again, and I'll proper do you one in the back." Hanyena yelled, "Get off me! Since when are you this strong? If you don't let go, I'm going to scream." Jung Minjin said, "Go on then, scream your head off. It's just us 2 in here. All mouth and no trousers, ain't ya? Hey. Big tough girl outside, but you're actually well cute." Hanyena said, "Shut up. I ain't interested in a scrubber like you." Jung Minjin shot back, "Carry on and it won't just be words next time. Might actually deck you." Hanyena said, "What? To deck me? Go on then. Have a pop. You're weak anyway, Jung Minjin said. Want to find out if I'm weak or not? I'm proper serious, mate. Back in the real world, while still dreaming, Han mumbled. You're well cheeky, Jung Minjin, if you keep that up. She let out a little moan, then went quiet. She slowly opened her eyes and whispered, was that all a dream? What a weird nightmare. Then she suddenly spotted Jung Minjin right next to her and froze. Turns out she'd been cuddling him in her sleep, using him like a pillow. She went bright red and sucked in a breath. Oh wow, what the... I fell asleep hugging Jung Minjin. This cheeky git, he came right up to me. No wonder I had that dream. What a right perv. Bet he's just pretending to be asleep. She carefully pulled her arm away. Kang Hakshol was quietly snoring on the sofa. Han Yena was still next to Jung Minjin, and she felt his arm against her soft chest. She let out a sigh. You're dead annoying, Jung Minjin. She had a proper close look at him and thought, but it's well weird. Used to smell like a damp basement, so I'd keep my distance. But now there's none of that. Jung Minjin was out cold, his hand resting on her chest. Han Yena sniffed him and whispered, Did he have a wash earlier? He smells well nice now, and why's he suddenly fit all of a sudden? Am I still dreaming? Maybe the apocalypse has finally done my head in. He weren't like this before. Maybe 'cause he's took his glasses off and his eyes are closed. Jung Minjin suddenly opened his eyes and caught Han Yena staring right at his face. She proper jumped. Ha! She shrieked, Wah! And whacked him right in the face. Kia! You perv! Ow! Jung Minjin yelped. Kang Hakchiol jolted awake and pointed his gun. What's that? Don't move! Jung Minjin said quick. It's not what it looks like, Hakchiol. Go back to Kip. Han Yena screamed, while covering herself up. Why, you were watching me sleep. I nearly had a heart attack. Jung Minjin said. Well, were you awake? I opened my eyes, and you were already looking at me. Han Yena said, No, I wasn't. When I woke up, you were already awake. Jung Minjin frowned. Ha! That don't make sense. Han Yena was proper miffed and muttered, This bloke's impossible. Jung Minjin was bewildered. You got the shivers. Then you punched me. Han Yena suddenly kicked him right in the face. You're so bloody annoying. Ow! Jung Minjin groaned. Han Yena dived under the covers, while Jung Minjin sat there sweaty and dead confused. Did we have a row? Was I the one shouting at her? Kang Hakchiol said. Jung Minjin, did you actually yell at her? Jung Minjin replied, No, must have been talking in my sleep. 2:15 in the morning. A bit later outside, Kang Hakchiol said, Listen up again. Once me and the professor get the ambulance like we planned, we'll be straight back here. When we get back, Yena and Minjin open the garage shutters so we can get the vehicle in, load the supplies in the back, and we're off. Got it? Jung Minjin nodded. Yeah, Kang Hakchiol said. Right, we're off then. Han Yena said, Take care, Kang Hakchiol. Moon Ji-yeon added, Take care, love. Seo Jahan said. A bit later, water was dripping into a basin, and the roads were wrapped in a thick, dark fog. Jung Minjin scanned the area with binoculars, waiting patiently, staring into the distance. Han Yena asked, Still no word from them. Jung Minjin replied, Nah, proper thick fog tonight. Han Yena frowned. Don't tell me something's happened to him. It's been an hour already. Jung Minjin explained. They said the vehicle was only a click away, so if they're moving careful, it'd take over half an hour to get there. And there's infected inside the ambulance too, so that might have slowed 'em down sorting that out. Suddenly they heard a bang in the distance. Both of them jumped. Did you hear that? Was that a gunshot? Han Yena asked. Was that Hakchiol firing? Jung Minjin said. Nah, that sounded different. Weren't Hakchiol's piece. That was a different kind of bang. Han Yena said. What? Then whose gun was it? Maybe those blokes who came by yesterday, Minjin replied. Han Yena started panicking. She stood up, covered her mouth and nose, and went, Jung Minjun asked. What's up? Han Yena said. What's that smell? Proper rank, I'm gonna chunder. Something's approaching. Ha! Jung Minjun said, confused. Suddenly someone shouted, Open the door! Jung Minjun shot up and peered into the distance. He spotted a bloke running towards them. Come on! Open the door! The man yelled. Minjun remembered. That bloke we saw yesterday? Han Yena asked W, who's that? Jung Minjun said, The one who came yesterday morning, but where's their car? And he had another bloke with him then. When the bloke reached the gate, he was absolutely knackered. Ha! He banged on it with his gun. Oh, open up, please, let me in, Jung Minjun asked. You're the bloke from yesterday, right? Where's your mate? The bloke replied. He got attacked and croaked. Has Hakcheol not come back yet? Why ain't he answering on the radio? He muttered. There's a monster showed up. Then shouted. There's a monster showed up. Bullets don't even touch it. Jung Minjun looked through the binoculars, sweating and not believing his eyes. He hesitated to open the gate. No, this can't be real. In the distance, Lee Bongyu said, Han Yena, where are you? Minjun remembered what Bongyu had said yesterday. Nice to meet you. I'm Bongyu Oppa. Now Bongyu was shuffling along real slow, muttering, My Instagram, why won't you accept me? Jung Minjun remembered back when he used to play zombie games. Oi, there's a fat zombie at the ping location. Leg it, he thought. That weird dread, that wouldn't leave my head. If there's even the tiniest link, then it means the world's finally heading for a full-on apocalypse. He recalled the boomer from the game, and now seeing Lee Bongyu move just like that, he muttered to himself, and now the fears turned into certainty. Lee Bongyu groaned, Ma Yi Yena. And Jung Minjun whispered to himself, and that's when I knew for sure. Outside, the sky was dark. The roads looked proper miserable. A few minutes earlier, a zombie inside the ambulance was groaning, Gook, grook. Kang Hakjol said, There's two in the front seats. If we get this motor running, can we swing it back round? Professor Seo Jaehun replied, Yeah, the way back is clear, so definitely. But how do we deal with this? Kang Hakjol suddenly froze, proper confused, when he heard a noise from the direction of Professor Seo Jaehun's house. Professor Seo Jaehun shouted, What was that noise? Suddenly Kang Hakjol's radio crackled. Kang Hakjol, have you got the vehicle? Quick, get over here. There's trouble. A sweaty Kang Hakjol replied, That was a gun. From those blokes who came yesterday. Professor Seo Jaehun asked, Well, what's going on? Kang Hakjol yelled, Quick, Professor, better use the rifle now. When you open the driver's door, I'll fire. After I pop the ones in the front, the infected will come swarming, so be quick at the back too. Professor Seo Jaehun replied, Right. At Professor Seo Jaehun's house, Jung Minjun dashed down the stairs when he heard the bloke from yesterday screaming outside the door. Please open up. I'm gonna die out here. Jung Minjun flung the door open straight away. Quick, get in, he said. The bloke replied, Cheers. But then his zombie mate leapt out from behind him. Jung Minjun proper jumped when the zombie piled on top of the geezer. The zombie screeched, Gra! The bloke screamed in agony, Va! Help me! Save me! Han Yena stuck her head out and got the shock of her life. The zombie groaned, Groo! Jung Minjun yelled, Governor! Han Yena shouted, The infected are swarming, Jung Minjun! Quick, get inside! She suddenly froze when she spotted something ahead. Huh? She gasped when she saw Lee Bongju shuffling towards them. Lee Bongju went, Found you. Han Yena plunked down on the floor, proper gobsmacked, while Jung Minjun slammed the gate shut. The bloke outside screamed, Help me. The zombies were groaning. Keek, gra! Jung Minjun was puffing and panting. Huff! Han Yena was still trembling. What the hell was that thing? Jung Minjun replied. That's Lee Bongju, the bloke we met at the construction site, that geezer who knew Park Sungbin. Outside, Lee Bongju groaned. Gruh, Yina, Jung Minjun said. Sweatin' buckets. Well, we've got to leg it. He shouted. Even a rifle ain't gonna cut it against that thing. We need Kang Hutchel here. Suddenly he heard proper heavy bang. He spun round, startled. There was a big bulge in the metal. Moon Ji-yoon came out the house and asked, What's going on out there? Jung Min-jun yelled, Get back inside, missus. Take Ha-jun and hide on the second floor. He muttered to himself, Fire! That's it, Molotov cocktails. He looked at Han-yena and said, Han-yena, listen up, yeah. I need your help. But Han-yena was just staring into space. Jung Min-jun shouted again, Han-yena, snap out of it and listen. Han-yena jolted back to reality. Jung Min-jun grabbed her shoulder, proper delicate-like, and said, That monster's gonna smash through the gate and get in. It'll probably wreck the door just to get to you, so I'm gonna lob Molotovs at the gate to buy us some time with the fire. There's still some petrol left from yesterday, right? When the monster gets through the gate, you douse it with petrol from above. Then I'll chuck another Molotov at. There's going to be more infected swarming, so after you've emptied all the petrol, you start throwing Molotovs from up top. We've got 8 Molotov cocktails, 4 each. Can you handle that? Han-yena still wasn't moving. Shaking like a leaf and sweating, Jung Min-jun shouted again, Can you handle it? Han-yena replied, Yes. Jung Min-jun went inside with Han-yena and said, Quick, get up to the second floor. He grabbed a few soju bottles filled with petrol. He stepped back outside and thought to himself, With all this racket, more infected are going to pile in. Once the door gives way, they'll all storm in at once. But if I'm right, no matter how strong their attack instinct is, they're still weak to fire. Yeah, they'll jump through the flames, but at least we can stop 'em all rushing in together. He hurled a Molotov in front of the gate. Suddenly, with one massive punch, Lee Bong-ju busted the gate open. He groaned, Grew. As he shuffled in, Jung Min-jun thought, the most important thing. Lee Bong-ju called out, Now. While slowly walking through the fire, Jung Min-jun thought, If we don't take that monster out first, we're done for. Han-yena screamed, Did you find me, you perv monster? She drenched Lee Bong-ju in petrol. Lee Bong-ju groaned in pain. Wung! Jung Min-jun hurled another Molotov and yelled, Get back to hell, you beast! Lee Bong-ju exploded into flames. He screeched in pure agony. Keek! Jung Min-jun shouted at Han-yena and Moon Ji-yoon. That's not enough! Even with the fire barrier, 1 or 2 slipped through, so keep chucking and keep fighting, Han-yena replied. Yeah. Suddenly the zombie from earlier came charging at Jung Min-jun, screeching Gra. Ah! Jung Min-jun yelled, One's coming in. He thought, Molotovs are running low, this is dodgy if more show up. If only we had Hachol's rifle. Yena up top looks like she's almost out too. Lee Bong-ju screamed in pain. Grook! Jung Min-jun bit his lip and thought, This is the end. Another zombie came at him, screeching, Grua! Ah! The zombie charged and bowled Jung Min-jun over. Han-yena screamed, panicked and terrified. Jung Min-jun! Moon Ji-yoon wept. What do we do? Han-yena said. If I throw now, Min-jun will get burned too. I'm coming down to help. She shouted, Jung Min-jun! Just hold on a bit longer. Another zombie ran at him, screeching, Gra! Ah! The zombie on top of Jung Min-jun groaned, Gra! Gra! Jung Min-jun bit his lip and yelled, Don't come down. Take cover, Han-yena. He desperately shoved the zombie off him. He thought if more infected get in. With this many, this is it for us, in the end. Suddenly, the zombie on top of him got shot right in the head. Blood splattered across Jung Min-jun's face as he squeezed his eyes shut. Darkness. He slowly opened his eyes and saw the dark clouds in the sky. Then he heard Kang Hak-cheol's voice. Get up! Kang Hak-cheol shouted again. Get up before the rest show up. Still proper dazed, Jung Min-jun mumbled, Kang Hak-cheol. Kang Hak-cheol hauled him to his feet. Meanwhile, Lee Bong-ju, still burning, was screeching, Keek! Kang Hak-cheol yelled at the others, Shift it! Outside, Zombies had heard the noise and started flocking towards the house, screaming, "Gra! Kia! Ah!" Kang Hakchiel flung open the back of the ambulance. Inside, a female zombie screeched, "Keek!" He shot it and muttered, "Last round." Moon Ji-yun and the others piled into the ambulance and slammed the doors shut. Kang Hakchiel jumped in and said to Professor Seo Jae-hoon, "Let's go." Professor Seo Jae-hoon replied, "Yeah," as he fired up the engine. Zombies came running at the vehicle, screeching, "Gra! Ah!" The ambulance tore off at speed. Professor Seo Jae-hoon glanced nervously at the side mirrors. The house was ablaze behind them, with zombies giving chase. The fire slowly devoured the house in the distance. He was sweating even more as he swerved the vehicle onto the chaotic roads. A bit later, as the surroundings got darker, they carried on their journey. Inside the ambulance, Jung Min-jun was quietly holding his side, the wound from the construction site. He was sweating. He remembered the old bloke from earlier shouting, "Please open up, we're gonna die if you don't let us in." He'd opened the door and said, "Huff, quick, get in." The bloke said, "Cheers," before his zombie mate attacked him. Jung Min-jun was deep in thought. He muttered quietly, "Ugh, it's hurting again." Han Yena asked, concerned. "You all right?" Jung Min-jun replied, Yeah, just my side's been playing up since earlier." Han Yena said, "Did you get it stitched? Get Hakchiel to check it when you get a chance." Jung Min-jun said, I'll get it looked at tomorrow, I reckon." As they passed a few motels, Professor Seo Jae-hoon said, "Reckon we're close to the meeting point that bloke mentioned, but chances are he won't show." Kang Hakchiel added, "He said to turn at Insanghof, then carry on straight." Professor Seo Jae-hoon replied, "If we've done 4 clicks already, we're probably halfway there. It ain't properly dark yet, so how about we push on to Gunja Station?" Kang Hakchiel said, "Looks like rain and the sky's proper dark. Might be safer to wait at the meeting point." Suddenly Professor Seo Jae-hoon pointed and said, "Oh, there it is, the Sky Motel." He parked the ambulance right in front of the Sky Motel. A bit later, they went inside. As they walked down the dark corridors, Han Yena said, "Whoa, this place is well creepy, innit? If something jumps out at me, I'll probably piss myself." Jung Min-jun said, "Steady on, Yena. Mind what you say." Han Yena asked nervously, Are you sure we're safe here?" Kang Hakchiel reassured her, "Yeah, I've swept the whole second floor. Rooms 202, 203, and 206 are safe, so we can keep them." Han Yena said, "Blimey, Hakchiel, you don't seem scared at all, do ya?" Kang Hakchiel replied, "Truth be told, I'm more scared of people than ghosts or infected." They stopped in front of room 209. There was a big X mark on the door. Kang Hakchiel said, "They said them's the rooms to avoid." Han Yena said, "Oh, bloody hell." Kang Hakchiel warned, and there's infected on the 4th floor hallway, so don't go up there no matter what." Han Yena asked nervously, "So they won't come down to the 2nd floor, will they?" Kang Hakchiel replied, "The stairs are locked, and they can't use the lift." Then he looked at Professor Seo Jae-hoon and asked, "So 3 rooms, how we splitting them?" Professor Seo Jae-hoon said, Han Yena butted in, "Hakchiel, stop shining that light at the professor, you're freaking me out." A bit later they arrived at room 203 and went in. Kang Hakchiel asked, "Yena, you sure you're all right keeping on your own?" Han Yena replied, To be honest, I'd rather stick with you lot than be on my lonesome, haha." Kang Hakchiel said, "You could bunk with Mrs. Moon in one room. There's 3 rooms, so me and Min-jun will take one. The professor and Ha-jun can take another." While Jung Min-jun was heading to the loo, Han Yena said, What do you mean? Let's all stick together." She laughed nervously. Ha. Jung Min-jun leaned against the wall quietly. He muttered, the pain's getting worse." He lifted his shirt and carefully peeled back the bandage to check the wound. His eyes went wide with shock and confusion. What? What the bloody hell? My wound, my wound. Why is it like this? This feels like an infected wound. Don't tell me. I've been infected. When did this happen? Where? Was it when that infected grabbed me earlier? No. There was no bite. I'm certain I wasn't bitten. Did I get infected from the wound I got at the construction site? He desperately tried to replay every moment, from getting punched in the face, to being thrown from the building, to crashing to the ground. My memory's fuzzy after the fall, but if I got infected back then, the incubation period wouldn't be this long. I'd be a goner by now. Unless it happened just now. He remembered getting pinned down, struggling to shove the zombie off, and Kang Hakchol arriving to help. But my stomach wound was covered by my clothes, so there's no way anything got in there. Unless some fluid got in my eyes or mouth. He remembered what Kang Hakchol had said a few days back. Ah, by the way, Jung Minjin had asked, when you got splattered with infected blood, you sure you won't get infected? Kang Hakchol had replied, I've been splashed with infected blood loads of times, and I've been fine as long as it's just on the skin. As far as I know, it's only bites that infect. Now, Jung Minjin gritted his teeth and thought, maybe Hakchol's theory is wrong, or maybe my wound just got infected. Suddenly, his side flared up with intense pain. He dropped to his knees and whispered, No, I can feel it. I'm infected. A bit later, there was a dim lamp glow in the room. Han Yena sat on the bed waiting. She glanced at the frosted glass door of the bathroom. He's been in there over half an hour. What's he doing in there? I'm getting proper annoyed. She called out, Jung Minjin, what you playing at in there? I'm desperate. If you don't come out, I'm coming in myself. The bathroom door slowly opened. Jung Minjin came out. Han Yena stood up. What have you been doing in there? You weren't answering earlier. Jung Minjin replied, sweating. I'm fine. There's a spare room in it. Sorry. The water was running, so I didn't hear you. Is it all right if I kip on my own tonight? Han Yena asked, confused. Why? Jung Minjin hesitated. I just want to be alone tonight. Han Yena said, Huh? Bit sudden, Innit. Give us a reason at least. I'm not feeling great. I just want to be on my own right now. Han Yena glanced at Kang Hakchol and muttered, Ah. She thought, so you want me and Hakchol to share a room instead? Blimey, that's well awkward. Jung Minjin grabbed his bag. Hey, Jung Minjin, hang on. Are you getting cold feet 'cause of me? Ha ha. Yeah, I suppose sharing a motel room is a bit weird, especially when it's not a house. Jung Minjin turned to her, his voice dead serious. Han Yena, I'm not messing about, please. Han Yena froze. Ha? She watched him walk away. Kang Hakchol silently observed the scene like a couple having a tiff. He said, I'll bunk with the professor and Harjun. Maybe it's better if you and Mrs. Moon share a room. Han Yena replied, Ah, okay, sure. In room 202, Jung Minjin closed the door. He slowly slumped down, leaning against the back of the door. Reckon everyone's thinking the same thing, that their lives are like the main character in a film or drama, that, like in the movies, they'll get a happy ending someday, that even though it's rough now, it'll all be all right in the end. He carefully sat on the floor, still leaning on the door, holding his side, he whispered, But that ain't how it is. He looked at the rubbish scattered on the floor. My life's a far cry from the heroes. In the end, I'll just get infected and fade away quietly. I'm just an ordinary extra, aren't I? What was I expecting? In this miserable life. He quietly sobbed, hugging himself in the dark motel room. Maybe this is really how it's meant to end. Outside, the zombies groaned. Rar-a-roar. The next day, Sky Motel. Han Yena was in her pajamas, knocking on the door of room 202. Jung Minjin, you awake yet? Kang Hakchol came over and said, I'll try opening the door. He grabbed the handle, tried to turn it, then frowned. "It's locked," he broke out in a sweat. "Hope I'm wrong, but," he muttered quietly, "Jung Minjin, he might have been infected." Hanyana froze, eyes wide with shock, startin' to sweat. "What? That ain't true." "He said yesterday he wasn't bitten," Kang Hakchul replied. "Did anyone actually see that he wasn't bitten?" Hanyana said. If he really is infected. If we open the door, wouldn't he be going berserk like the others, but it's dead quiet?" Kang Hakchul said. "If he was all right, he'd have opened the door by now. If he's not infected, maybe—" He stopped, breath in. Han Yena froze on the spot, her voice shaken in disbelief. "Oi, Hakshil, that's bang out of order. Don't you dare joke like that." She started hammering on the door. "Oi, Jung Minjin, open up. Enough messing about. Ha! Are you taking the piss? Drop the drama and open the door. This ain't funny." She paused for a moment, then spoke quieter. "Jung Minjin." She banged again, proper hard. "Bloody hell, you really not gonna open up? Shift it, open the door, bang. Open this now, open the door you get, bang, open." Suddenly she heard the door unlock. Tears were welling up in her eyes. "Oi, are you all right?" Kang Hakshil shone his flashlight into the doorway. Jung Minjin stood there shaken, said, "Guys, there's something wrong with me." He was drenched in sweat, and the infection was clearly spreading all over his body. Thank you for watching Rebirth Genesis. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you will not miss the next chapter of the journey. Your support keeps this rebirth going strong. Until next time, stay sharp and keep rising beyond your limits.